Hosting for the Dice Tower is generously provided by Cool Stuff Inc. Cool stuff in stock at coolstuffinc.com. Thanks for your support. The Dice Tower, episode 437.
The Year in Review, 2015, that is, part 1.
Welcome to the Dice Tower, a podcast about board games and card games, and especially the people who play them. On today's show, we begin our look back at the games of 2015, with voices from across the Dice Tower network and beyond, giving you their thoughts on the most interesting news item, the biggest disappointment, and the best family game of the year, and lots more. I'm Eric Summerer, and here's your host, the Rizzo to my Pepe, Tom Vassell.
I
get to be the King Prawn.
I don't get it.
You know, well, we're just buddies. We're buddies.
Is this from Greece?
No, the Muppets.
There's a Rizzo in Greece, isn't there?
Well, yes, there is a Rizzo. We're not pink ladies.
Well, I don't...
We're Muppets. Rizzo the Rat, Pepe the King Prawn.
Oh, that's right, Rizzo the Rat. I don't know Pepe the King Prawn. What's he from?
He's the King Prawn.
What's he from? What, is he in the movies?
He is awesome, okay?
Folks, it's the end of the year. We're loopy. So let's start out by saying Star Wars is the best movie of all time, even though I haven't seen it yet.
I hope so. I really, really hope so.
So we can't actually spoil it for you because we haven't seen it, but I'm going to see it by the time this has posted.
I will have also seen it by the time this is posted. I'm seeing it Saturday afternoon with the wife.
I'm going to see it Friday night and text Eric spoilers.
You better not.
I don't know that I would do that even to someone I did not like.
I know people who are avoiding the internet entirely since Monday when the red carpet premiere happened, just in case someone who had tickets to the red carpet premiere is going to be a jerk. And they're avoiding all internet everywhere.
Well, people are jerks for some... there was a kerfuffle this past week because Pandemic Legacy...
Yes?
hit number 2 on Board Game Geek.
Oh,
and that
yes.
must not stand.
So, no.
Because of, I guess that affected some people's lives. They were having a happy, fruitful life, and then...
There were reasons, yes.
Terra Mystica was knocked at number 3. So anyway, a pile of people went in and ranked it number 1. And so I went through to read the number 1, and a lot of them were saying stuff like, well, I would never play such a game, which makes you a liar for rating it if you haven't played it. But anyhow...
Yes.
A couple people put spoilers in those number 1s.
Ooh.
That's boo.
You're not saying number 1. You're saying they've ranked it a 1, the lowest possible ranking on Board Game Geek.
And they put a spoiler in the comments about the game.
That is really... Yeah?
Yeah, boo.
Yeah. In fact, I think I know what you're talking about. I think I read that. Yeah, I thought, well, that's interesting.
I'm...
Not cool.
Yeah, but what if you hadn't played the game yet?
Mm-hmm. A lot of people, when they're looking for rankings on a game, or, you look at the top rankings and the lowest rankings to see why people love it or hate it.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, either way, Star Wars is the biggest movie of the year, I'm sure.
Yes.
But many other things happened this year. Fortunately, and I mean that seriously, it was not an election year in the U.S., because those years are a little bit crazy. Well, I guess we'll have to deal with that next year.
It's already pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is, but it gets worse, and it gets worse in the actual election year. But big news events happen, different things happen, both good and bad over the course of the year. But we're here to talk about board gaming, so let's get started taking a look back at 2015.
And now, let's introduce our contributors with their thoughts on 2015 as a whole.
Hello, this is Cevcek, Portal Games, and my thoughts on the year. It was an amazing year. It was big. Everybody's growing. Companies are growing. It's amazing time for us.
And Stephen Bonacore from Stronghold Games. By the way, Board Games Insider, we are. And this is, again, we've talked about this on the podcast, a ridiculously good year. By far the biggest year for both of our companies, and the expansion in the industry is tremendous. So I think we're on the cusp of the greatest time in board gaming's ever.
Hi, Greg Schlosser here, reviewing the year of 2015 concerning board games. Personally, it was a very good year. Played close to 400 games this year and attended over a half dozen gaming conventions and get-togethers. And that was even with missing Alan Moon's Gathering of Friends, which I've been attending now for close to 20 years. So wonderful time to get together with friends, meet new folks, play games, and just have a great time. As far as board games are concerned, I think it was a good year. I don't think it was a great year. They had quite a few games that I've enjoyed and have found a place in my collection. And there were some few that were really, really good. I would give Pandemic Legacy, as well as Codenames, and perhaps even Elysium very high marks of being great games. So, for year 2015, another very good year for board gaming. Here's looking forward to 2016.
Hey all you amazing gamers out there, it's Luke Hector from the Broken Meeple here in the United Kingdom at the end of 2015, which compared to last year was a much better year for board games. Now, I don't think that there was personally any Genesis titles out there, ones that are going to be the biggest mainstream things in sliced bread, but there were quality titles in multiple genres throughout, regardless of what time of year it was, whether it was Gen Con, Essen, or the quieter months. There was always something for me to look forward to, and my collection has updated quite a bit as a result of the games in this year. So here's hoping for 2016 to be just as good. If you want to know more about what I do, check me out on Facebook or Twitter, or visit my blog on www.brokenmeeple.blogspot.co.uk. Enjoy the rest of this podcast, take care, and enjoy a happy Christmas.
Hey chaps, Barry here. Now 2015 there were a bucket load of games, and a load of them seemed to be dice worker placement games. I'm not complaining because I like worker placement, but I am complaining because there's just too many games being shoved out there. And a lot of them weren't that great. And I was a bit disappointed that there weren't many zombie games, but there were quite a lot of pirate games. So I think 2015 is going to be the year of the pirate dice game. All I can say is roll on 2016.
Hey, it's Graham from Four Corners of the Board. This year has been quite a whirlwind for us. We started a podcast at the end of 2014, and 2015 has definitely been a growth year for us, including joining the Dice Tower Network. Man, what a year. As for games, it has been an excellent year, and since I've only been gaming for 4 years, it has been great that so many classic games either have been reprinted, or it has been announced that they're going to be reprinted. The other very interesting trend is the evolution of the consumable game. That is, games that have an end to them, such as Pandemic Legacy and Time Stories. I have no problem with games having an ending as long as the game itself is good. So far, I have not been disappointed, and I'm looking forward to more stories and time stories. I feel this trend will bring new innovations to board games, and it's a fascinating direction board games are taking.
Hey, this is Sean from the Daily Worker Placement. 2015 was a pretty cool year for board games and board game fans alike. There were amazing innovations like Time Stories, 504, and Then We Held Hands. There were great new takes on modern classics like Seven Wonders Duel and Pandemic Legacy. Big events like Gen Con, BGG Con, and Origins continued to grow with new fans coming out in record numbers. But the thing I take away from this year is seeing designers like Vlada Chvátil and Uwe Rosenberg creating games that are dead simple. Patchwork and Codenames are fun, easy to learn, and incredibly replayable. This is a trend I'd like to see carry forward into next year. Forget all the bells and whistles. I don't care about the Kickstarter stretch goals. I don't care about the minis. Give me a game that will hit the table time and time again. This is what I want to see continue in 2016, and that's what I think is probably the coolest element in 2015.
Hey everyone, it's the Board Game Point of View. Our thoughts on the year as a whole, pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was our first year as a podcast, and I really enjoyed it. It was really cool getting to connect with people and playing games and doing our outreach programs at the coffee shops and all that, and it's just been a really good year.
Yeah, and if you're interested in following the Board Game Point of View, be sure to check out our website at bgpov.com.
Hey everybody, this is Anthony with Chris from Board Gamers Anonymous, and this is our thoughts on the year as a whole. For us personally, it's been a fantastic year. This is the year we finally got to go to conventions, we finally got to meet our fans, our listeners, we finally got to build out a lot of the website the way we wanted to. But then as a hobby, it's been really awesome too to see kind of the growth and the increasing mainstream embracement of the hobby of board gaming. We're seeing more and more articles and major publications about this renaissance of board gaming that you and I have known all along is coming. And just the general growth and consolidation of the industry as a whole. So larger companies, higher production values. We're seeing games at quality levels we never saw before, and it's just a regular release. There are so many big things coming and so much more innovation coming with big games like Pandemic Legacy and Time Stories pushing the boundaries of storytelling. Really excited to see what 2016 will bring.
Hi, this is Rob.
This is Jeremy. And this is Patrick of the Blue Peg, Pink Peg Gaming Podcast.
For us, 2015 felt like a big breath in anticipation for 2016, the things that are going to come out then.
Yeah, it really wasn't until the end of the year that I got the games I was really looking forward to and where I spent most of my gaming money.
Yeah, and I mean, there were great games throughout the year, but I have to agree, the glut of the really remarkable games were here at the end of the year. And just as importantly, a lot of the innovation that we've been sort of anticipating is starting to become realized. We've got the mainstreaming of the legacy model with Pandemic Legacy. We've got Time Stories with its first and second expansion kind of coming out. We've got Tabletopia finally being realized. And each of these things have even better things on the horizon. More legacy games like Seafall, more expansions for Time Stories, and I think more ways of playing games online in a rich and new way.
So 2015 set the ball. I'm pretty sure 2016 is going to spike it.
This is Brian Counter from Cult of the Old. I would say 2015 was a pretty good year. I tend to stay away from spazzy hyperbole like best year ever, worst year ever, those kinds of things. But I will say pretty good year. I like the trend I see in that games are getting shorter, but pack the same punch and scratch the same itch. If I want a headier, longer game, that's fine. But I like the overall trend for shorter, more efficient games that provide the same experience. Also, I love the seeming trend, whether it be through Legend games or other styles of games, where there's almost a role-playing element being introduced into board gaming. It's much more immersive, and the experience is much better than some kind of math puzzle game, at least for me. I hope that trend continues, and I look forward to 2016.
Hi, this is Chris Renshaw from the Boards and Swords podcast, which you can find over at boardsandswords.com. 2015 was a very interesting year for me in board gaming, as it was the first time I stepped out and tried a bunch of brand new experiences this year. I went to my first ever board game convention by going to Gen Con. I used Kickstarter for the first time, and I played way more new releases than I had ever played in previous years. 2015 seemed to be the year that Cool Mini or Not showed us that they were more than just those Zombicide people, putting out a new Zombicide game every year. With the releases and the buzz behind Blood Rage and The Grizzled and all the other new releases that they brought out this year, they really showed us that they're a company to watch in the future in not only just miniatures gaming, but non-miniatures gaming as well. And so it'll be really exciting to see how they take that momentum and build forward into 2016.
Hello, Dan Hughes here from the Noble Order of Huddersfield Board Gamers. And for me, 2015 has been the year of games designed with a deliberate, limited replay value. Sure, we've had Risk Legacy in the past, but Pandemic Legacy and Time Stories have both made massive, controversial impacts in the board gaming world. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing depends entirely on your point of view. However, I'd be very surprised if we don't see a lot more of these narrative-strong but time-limited games come out in the future. I think we've probably witnessed the birth of a new genre, and I, for one, am fascinated to see where it will all end up.
Hey there, everybody. This is Sean.
And Alex.
From the Dukes of Dice podcast. So 2015 was a crazy year with some amazing titles like Pandemic Legacy, Roll for the Galaxy, Codenames, Seven Wonders Duel, although me and Duke Alex doesn't agree with that, Blood Rage, Forbidden Stars, the US Mysterium, and a whole lot more. While these and other from 2015 are amazing, the year as a whole kind of paled a bit compared to 2014, in my opinion. Maybe this was because a lot of the new big titles weren't released at Gen Con, but instead Essen, and we just haven't had the time to process them. Not sure.
At least for the Dukes, this was a big year. We celebrated our 1-year anniversary and joined the Dice Tower Network. Thank you, Tom. Locally, we had a brand new board game cafe open up, Empire Board Game Library. They have been a great partner for us in running events like our weekly Dukes of Dice meetup, International Tabletop Day, Extra Life, and Gen Cant.
A fantastic 2015, Alex.
And here's the 2016.
Hi, Eric Theo here from Push It Up Podcast. And my thoughts of the year as a whole, it's been a great year. Both for board games and for myself. For board games, there's so many new games that came out and they are mostly good. And I feel that this has been a better year than the previous years. So in terms of the the golden era of gaming, I still feel that we are in the midst of the golden era. Now, I do not wish for it to go down anytime soon, because right now I also consider myself as a board game designer, and I have recently released a game called Gutsy with the American Museum of Natural History. You may have heard Eric Summer talk about it on a previous episode of Dice Tower. So I'm also, on a personal note, I've done quite a few things that I've never done before, like releasing a game, writing my articles on Kotaku. So I'm very humbled and grateful for the community and the responses that I've gotten so far, and it's been a very exciting year for me. So I hope that the year has been good for you as it was for me as well.
Hey, it's Dan from the Geek All Stars podcast at thegeekallstars.com. 2015 is yet another good one. Each year, people go, well, this con was meh, or the year was so-so in games. Then you sit back and you come up with your awards, and of course, each year, you see the year was great for games. Sure, you might not have as to run as much for that one game at this con or that con, but you still bring home a ton of games, and your wish list is still as long as ever with 2015 games. So yes, another great year in gaming. There was a lot of surprises this year. 2 party games such as Codenames and Spyfall became overnight favorites on the gaming scene. A legacy game got to number 2 on BGG, and it's actually that good. But the biggest story of the year is how mainstream board gaming continues to get, as people start to realize how much fun you can have playing these games with your friends, family, and loved ones. The gaming hobby continues to grow, and it's an awesome thing for this grand hobby of ours. Had a great time for 2015.
This is Jeff Engelstein from Game Tech and the Ludology podcast, and I'm confident that we will look back at 2015 as a watershed moment in game design. Specifically, we've seen tremendous leaps in bringing narrative structure into games. Now, the 2 big games that highlighted this year are Pandemic Legacy, which takes the seeds planted by Risk Legacy in 2011 and realizes the full promise, and Time Stories, which integrates narrative and storytelling in a really exciting way. I would also cite Tragedy Looper from 2014 as a unique way of integrating a narrative structure. Now, there's always been a place for episodic games in the marketplace going back to the 70s and 80s with 221B Baker Street, Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, and Ambush, but I think the design techniques being used today are leaps and bounds beyond those games. Now, I know there are those that don't like the consumable one-shot nature of these games, but I strongly disagree. There are plenty of forms of media that can be consumed only once, from crossword puzzles to movies like The Sixth Sense. I am really excited to see where we are transported next.
This is Jared Whitley, one of the contributors to Board Game Breakfast, which I hope you're watching every Monday. So the first time I was ever on the Dice Tower, it was a question a few years ago that I emailed to Tom, and he read aloud, where I asked if he could please do a top 10 list on pirate games. He said he'd like to, but unfortunately there just weren't enough of them to justify it. And I can only assume that the game designers of the world heard this and said, we're going to spring into action for Jared and Tom. After this year, I feel like he could do a top 10 list of pirate games released in 2015. If it's treasure you seek and pirate booty you crave, then 2015 has been your year for gaming.
Hi, this is Jason Katarski, the host of the 20 Minutes of Filler podcast, and my thoughts on 2015 as a whole are that it was a really good year. And what made it so good for me was that it was filled with people. I love games, and I played a lot of games. I was kind of busy with my company, Green Couch Games, this year, so I didn't play a lot of other people's games as much as I have in the past. But what I did do was spend more time with people in the gaming scene that I just deeply care about and enjoy being with. I was able to travel to a few extra conventions this year. I went to the Gamers for Cures in North Carolina, and I went to Chicago Toy and Game Fair with my family, as well as Origins and Gen Con, and I got to connect with some wonderful people and just sit down and share stories and share some moments. So that is what made 2015 a great year for me.
Hey folks, Mark Street here from Board Game Corner. Thoughts on the year. It's just been an amazing year all around, and not just because of the games, but really what it boils down to is all the people. I've gotten to play games with so many of you and meet so many of you at conventions. It's been an amazing experience. And thank you all for your support and kind words. And, also to all of my fellow media folk and all you designers and everyone that I've gotten to know. And it's just been a ball and a real life-changing experience for me. And I can't thank you all enough. The games have been great, but really it boils down to the people. And all of you out there, thank you so much for everything.
Hello, gamers. Mary Prasad, aka Dicey Chic here. I think this year has been really quite good, although there are far too many games that I still want to try and haven't had time. Through the Ages was re-released, and although I haven't played the new version, I hear it is really good. I really like the previous version, so I'm looking forward to playing the new one. Another game I'm looking forward to playing is Pandemic Legacy. It's getting rave reviews from my friends, even those who, like me, don't care for Pandemic. My husband and I have a couple sessions scheduled, starting with friends this weekend. The Orleans Deluxe Edition was released. It's a beautiful version of my favorite game from last year. And other favorites that have come out that I have played include Codenames, The Voyages Marco Polo, Elysium, The Prodigals Club, Arboretum, Favor of the Pharaoh, Perplexed Paco Game, Lupin Chewy, and Row for the Galaxy. I have mixed feelings about Time Stories, but I'll talk about that more later.
Hi there, Niels Surls Brettspiele again. And yeah, let's talk about 2015 as a year. And you see all these beautiful new titles. I visited tons of cool conventions. And the only thing I wanted to say in this moment is thank you so much for letting me part of this huge family of gamers, publishers, conventional teams. It was amazing, 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 and I can't wait to do it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years again and again and again. See you 2016. Bye, folks.
All right, so my thoughts on the year for 2015 are how exciting it's been to sort of see the continued emergence of secondary market's the wrong word, but the supporting market that goes into all of the gaming stuff. You know, we've got all these people making tables, we have calendars, we have box inserts, or sort of all the rage, you know, starting last year, I guess, is the first year I saw that it's a sign of a healthy market that is going to find other ways to support itself besides just the new hotness. It's like we've got products that continue to allow us to live our lifestyles and play.
I agree, and it's always exciting. I have a fun time playing the games, but honestly, I get almost as much entertainment out of organizing and blinging out the boxes.
Yeah, well, certainly adding new, different tokens to your games to make them fancier and all that. So I love that. That's my thoughts on, we are a healthy industry because we have not only new products that we can play, but new things that we can do to sort of support that hobby.
I'm Eric Dewey.
And I'm Donald Dennis.
From Onboard Games.
Hi, this is Chris from the Out of Game Podcast. You can find us at outofgamepodcast.com. And my thoughts for the year 2015 as a whole, this is not a pretense. I saw Exploding Kittens. It left me grizzled, but I rolled with it. I rolled for the galaxy. And afterward, I had a revolution, a one-night revolution. That's where I heard the code name. It was hidden in a song by Alanis Morissette. Got one hand in my pocket Imperium. Those are my thoughts on 2015. I'm turning it over to Ryan.
My much less creative thoughts on the year as a whole were, I felt like this was a year of more experience games. More games are starting to be released that focus on the experience you have playing the game, like Pandemic Legacies and Time Stories. And I think this is a good shift in the industry because some games are so themeless, but the theme is playing more of a major role in these games, which makes the games more exciting and more fun to talk about afterwards.
Hey, this is Marty and Tony from Rolling Dice and Taking Names, where you can find us at rolldicetakenames.com. And for me, in a year which we've had so many great games, there have also been a lot of social deduction games. That seems to be kind of like the hot genre now. I mean, they're not bad or anything, but they're kind of like the same-ish after a while. So I'm just surprised at all the social deduction games, but I guess that's why when a game like Codenames comes out, it makes it so very popular because it's so different.
All right, Marty, for me here, it's going to be, are games getting too expensive? All these miniatures being put into games. Is it going to be the fact that you're going to be spending $60, $70, $80 on a game that you may not enjoy or possibly could just not be what you thought it was? It's going to be kind of hard. And that's my thought for the year. I'm seeing a trend, it looks like, that why are all these games getting so expensive? And I understand that we as gamers, we like our components, but we need to be watching that bottom line as well.
Hey now, this is Jamie from the Secret Cabal Gaming Podcast, 2015. Earlier in the year, I wasn't too keen on the year. I was like, there's Gen Con crop of games was just so. The Fantasy Flight didn't announce anything that spectacular. There wasn't much out at Origins and that kind of stuff. But holy cow, since August until January, everything that comes along the pike is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. This year, I did my top 100 games of all times. I'm about to release it. And there are 3 games from 2015 in my top 10 of all time. And that never happens. I don't understand it. My number 2 game of all times, Forbidden Stars, is right there in my top 10. I can't believe how great 2015 was for gaming. It's the best year I've had since getting into this hobby. I'm not sure how 2016 is going to be able to top this year, but I'm jumping out of my pants to find out how it does.
Jonathan from the Snakes Cast. Despite 2015 being very much a banner year for titles, there's a lot of amazing stuff. There are a few things that look kind of gloomy from a certain perspective. I mean, with Kickstarter fatigue well and truly being set in, and with more mergers and acquisitions and so many titles coming out, it's really hard to get noticed in today's board game market. Smaller companies are having a much harder time, and in a way, that's both good and bad because it means our little industry is growing up. Little by little, it's being less and less run by hobbyists and more run by business people. And we'll see where that leads us in the years ahead.
Hi, Suzanne here from Board Game Breakfast and Board Game Blender. 2015 felt like it had kind of a slow start, but it picked up momentum. It felt like a good year for games on the thrashy side like Forbidden Stars and Blood Rage, and had some really cool surprises and treats like Codenames and Time Stories. And man, those reprints. So many great reprints like Furia Dracula, El Grande, and Carson City. But on the app side, it wasn't a very standout year at all, with some pretty big disappointments. So for me, 2015 is a year of highs and lows. And while some of my all-time new favorites came out this year, overall I was kind of underwhelmed. But looking forward, it looks like 2016 has a lot of great stuff lined up, so let's tuck 2015 to bed and play what's next.
Hello, Andre here from Talkers Reviews. Lately, it's hard to say when a year is good or bad for board gaming because every year there are a lot of great board games that comes out, and I think 2015 is just another one of those great years. There are many good games that come out, and the industry just keeps growing and become more mature for each year, and I just think we're living in a golden age of gaming right now. So I'm really looking forward to what's in store for us in the future. I think we have great times ahead of us as board gamers. But for me personally, one of the big things that happened this year is that I joined up with the Dice Tower Network, and now you can see my videos, so I have a collection of those at reviews.talkos.net. Please check them out and enjoy the rest of the show.
Hey everyone, this is Tim Jeanette the Metal Meeple. I contribute video reviews to the Dice Tower's YouTube channel, and I gotta say that 2015 was an absolutely amazing year. There's tons of games out there that I think we're going to be talking about for many years to come. I've played a couple of dozen of them, and they're just all really good, and I still got a lot to get to. The game I picked for my best game of the year has made it to my personal top 10 list, so looking forward to talking to you about all these games, and until then, keep on rocking and rolling dice.
All right, it was a very strong year in 2015. There were a lot of games I was very excited about, and it seemed pretty consistent throughout the year that there were exciting games to talk about all year long. Some of my favorites from the year happened near the beginning of 2015, which is exciting. They weren't all clustered. There has been quite a flurry in the last few months, but they weren't all clustered at the end of the year. The one thing that seems to be a big marking point of this year, and a lot of people mentioned it already, is the whole debate about replayability and new ways to look at new types of games like Time Stories and Pandemic Legacy, and whether an experience that is concentrated can be evaluated in the same way as something that's more of a traditional board game that can be played forever. What constitutes a traditional board game? And like you said, some people are very much up in arms about the possibility of a consumable game showing up in the rankings and beating some of their favorites.
I still don't see how that matters at all. But I think Jeff said it best here with the rise of the narrative, right? We're starting to see theme. I mean, for me, this is brilliant.
Sure.
Because you know how strong I feel about theme being in games. And has it ever been stronger than this year? I mean, it's amazing how strong stories are. There are so many games I can talk about this year where I can tell you what happened in that game more than just talking about the way the game worked. I can be like, oh, and then this happened in I'm talking about Pandemic Legacy, and then this happened in Africa, and this, over here, and time stories, and oh man, and just even other games. We're starting to see such a strong theme, and I like that. Kickstarter. I think 2015 is the first full year of Kickstarter. What I mean by that is we're seeing that wave of all those games getting kickstarted are arriving.
Didn't you say that last year?
I think I did, but I'm seeing even more of it now where it's more of it's not even a surprise. We're just seeing each week, which Kickstarters have been released this week, in a sense. And it's happening a lot. And I will say that I think the number of games being kickstarted has increased. I am happy to see, and I don't feel bad about saying this at all, but I'm happy to see that the vast majority of Kickstarters on Kickstarter about board games are failing. That's great, because most of them are garbage.
Okay.
But the ones that are succeeding are hitting the market, and a few of them are very good. There's been a few of them over the course of the year which I would not have been able to differentiate away from an actual published game. And I'm not talking about Cool Mini or Not or Eagle Griffin. I'm talking about, small publishers. Some of them are great. However, the vast majority that I played are still mediocre. And even though you could make an argument and say, well, most games have stinkers and good ones, I still say Kickstarter, in general, is producing games that are cut below regular games. And this whole, but you'll see games there you would never see in the published market, I'm still not sure that holds true. You see some cool games there, but you see some really cool games that are unique and unusual coming from big publishers. In fact, I think some of the most unique and unusual games came from some of the biggest publishers this year.
That's true. That is one of our segments coming up later in, is that this episode or next? Next, I think.
It's next episode.
Next week.
But what I'm saying is people say that Kickstarter is a hotbed of innovation. I'm not seeing that necessarily in board gaming. There's innovation there. I just don't, again. So I think Kickstarting, though, has also become almost it was Kickstarted and it doesn't really matter in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping we're going to start seeing a trend away from this exclusivity to Kickstarters and how much better the stuff is that Kickstarters get.
Right.
I just recently got a game, and I always tell publishers when they're sending me games, if they're going to send me a game, they might as well send me don't send me the special Kickstarter version, because why should I show that off when people can't get it?
Right.
And I just got one, and they said, this is a special Kickstarter one we sent you, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, as I looked it over, wow, if this is the special edition, I really, really don't want the regular edition. And so we'll see. I think some of that stuff's dying down. We can hope. I did predict that this year would be a year where we would see a flood of electronic devices or smartphones being utilized in gaming.
Yeah.
And that actually has not happened.
No, not really.
We saw XCOM come out at the beginning of the year. That was kind of a big thing. And there was that game Roar. And that's almost it.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see more and more apps being used with board games as a companion.
Right.
A scorekeeping thing
required.
Or whatever. So I don't know. Do you think maybe that's just not in the cards? I don't know. I know that in January, February, we're going to see World of Yoho come out.
Right. It could just be that these apps are taking longer to develop and figure out. So the initial flood came in and other publishers go, yeah, that's a good idea. We should do that. And it's just taken a full year for them to get anything to market.
Possibly. And I'll say one more thing. I think, and I know I get called out because I say this a lot of years, but I think 2015 is the best year in the last 5 years.
Okay.
Not only, finally, we've seen a game come out that has the possibility of being a blockbuster, and that would be Pandemic Legacy.
Okay.
It really does. It has sold many copies. It has climbed up the Board Game Geek ratings like a madman. Yeah, there's people who are hating on it, but the vast majority of people are really enjoying the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that Z would be an anomaly, having played through it twice, but apparently that's happening with a lot of people.
Cool.
So, but it's not just Pandemic Legacy. My top 10 was hard. And I left so many amazing games out of the top 10.
Yeah.
There was just so many good games this year, in so many categories too. We had great party games. And as you listen, We had great. There was good war games came out for the war game. There was a lot of heavy Euro games that came out this year, and with the exception of one category,
yes,
every category that we're going to talk about is incredibly diverse, including Game of the Year.
Yeah,
I thought Game of the Year would be like narrowed down to 1 or 2 games, but it's not.
Yeah.
So don't like fast forward through these segments. They're really interesting because they're all over the place.
Right, and which really makes that one segment where everyone agreed pretty funny.
Yeah, well, anyhow, a lot of stuff did happen this year in board gaming, and you can always find out the news at our website, dicetowernews.com. But let's find out what happened in the board gaming world.
One of the arms of the Dice Tower Network is Board Game News. We've brought a lot of news stories to you this year. Let's take a look at the top news stories of 2015.
Hello, this is Ignacy Tryczek, Board Games Insider, and for me the biggest news was releasing of Pandemic Legacy. Everybody was waiting for that, and on the ranking of the BGG website we see that everybody literally was waiting for the game.
And Stephen Bonacore here. Yeah, I got to agree with that one. It was absolutely amazing that Pandemic Legacy crushed the ratings in like 3 weeks, became the number 3 game on BGG. Fantastic job to Z-Man and Rob Davio and Matt Leacock. Phenomenal.
This is Chris with the biggest news story for 2015. We all know that Gen Con was amazing, and yet at the same time, it still remains anonymous with much of the public. But not next year. It was announced that Gen Con would be expanding into Lucas Oil Stadium, the home of the 2012 Super Bowl. We already have the best games, and now in 2016, we'll have the best venue and not remain anonymous much longer.
Hey, this is Rob. You know, my biggest news story for 2015 was Z-Man acquiring Plaid Hat Games. Hey, who got their chocolate in my peanut butter? I mean, Plaid Hat is the captains of Ameritrash Games, and Z-Man put out some really great Euros. I can't wait to see what these two companies combine, what beautiful, beautiful babies they're gonna make.
Hi, this is Chris Renshaw, and the biggest news story, whether you loved it or hate it, I think has to be Exploding Kittens. Everybody was talking about this game, and not just, every board game podcast was talking about it, every blog had an article about it, and even outside of the tabletop gaming sphere, there were all these other companies because of how big the Kickstarter got. So, to me, the biggest news story has to be Exploding Kittens.
Hello, Dan Hughes here. And this might sound a little bit sycophantic, but the news that Z and Sam were joining the Dice Tower as full-time paid employees really made my day. Yes, I know, but I don't really care about who merges with who, and one big game release is really the same as another big game release. But the news that two people that I like and respect and enjoy watching are getting possibly their dream job really warmed the cockles of my heart.
Hey, Eric Theo here, and my biggest news story for board games this year is that Pandemic Legacy has actually climbed its way up to the Board Game Geek ranking until it's number 3. This is pretty amazing if you consider that the top 10 on the Board Game Geek ranking has largely been the same. There's not many changes, especially Twilight Struggle has always been number 1. So to see Pandemic Legacy, a newcomer in 2015, make its way up the ladder and become number 3 is quite a big thing for me. Will it beat Twilight Struggle? Let's wait and see. But I suspect that it might be very, very close and it might be able to do that. So my biggest news story is that Pandemic Legacy is now number 3 on the Board Game Geek ranking.
Hey there, this is Chris with Flip the Table, and when I found out that Gale Force 9 got the license for Doctor Who, I was immediately excited. Doctor Who is my favorite intellectual property of all time, and Gale Force 9 does incredible work. I can't wait to see what they do with it. Gale Force 9, shut up and take my money.
Hey everyone, it's Mark Zielinski, and the biggest news story of 2015 has to be the destruction of the Warhammer world by Games Workshop. Yes, Games Workshop effectively took 30 plus years of excellent background material and an excellent game followed by legions of fans and just blew it up and started over again with Age of Sigmar.
Hi there, my name is Niels, and this year, 2015, was a year of big news. But the biggest news for me was that Plaid Games joined the family of F2Z, Philosophia and Z-Man Games. Biggest story for me.
This is Ryan from Out of Game, and I would say the biggest news story of the year is the fact that Gen Con is expanding into the Lucas Oil Stadium, which is a big and wonderful move for Gen Con because it was way too packed this year, and I can't even imagine having more people in that amount of space. So, good move for Gen Con, and I'm really excited about Gen Con 2016.
Hey, this is Paul Owen of Dice Tower News. Perhaps the biggest news story of 2015 was the purchase of Plaid Hat Games by F2Z. Plaid Hat started with Colby Dowk's Sentinel Wars in 2009 and grew with such popular successes as Mice and Mystics and Dead of Winter. The Plaid Hat label remains intact, and Dowk and his team remain free to focus on the design and development of board games. And the sale represents a trend of consolidation of strongly performing independent game companies that suggests continued industry growth.
Tony and Marty here. Biggest news story for 2015 for me had to be the fact that Walmart got an exclusive on the Star Wars Galactic Connexicons. You know, Top set this thing out there. That could have gone to the retailers. That could have gone to someone else, but only Walmart. So you really didn't hear about it, Marty?
Yeah, for me, it was like Martin Wallace was shutting down Tree Frog Games. This was the game company that he'd used to get a lot of his games out, and he's decided now, while he still will design games, he's now going to publish them through other companies.
Hey now, this is Jamie from the Secret Cabal, and the biggest news story for me was Games Workshop's announcement that they're bringing back their Specialist Games line. This is something that I've been so excited for. Now that I see that they keep bringing out these big box board games, I really hope, and I'm praying, that we're going to see a big box board game version of Blood Bowl, Battlefleet Gothic, Necromunda. I want these games, and I want them updated. I want new miniatures. I can't wait. This is the greatest announcement of the year for me.
Hey, the Broken Meeple here, and I wasn't shocked by many news stories this year compared to 2014, but Fantasy Flight Games acquiring the Legend of the Five Rings license from AEG is quite a big step. AEG have usually enjoyed their CCG lineup, and now that the Fantasy Flight has taken it, suddenly AEG is now going to be focusing mostly on board games, and Legend of the Five Rings is a very detailed and rich thematic universe, so it'll be cool to see what Fantasy Flight do with this in the future with their LCG.
This was mentioned by a number of people already, but this was my biggest surprise. Tom and I, you were walking around with me at Gen Con, and we happened to get the tweet or the announcement that F2Z had acquired Plaid Hat on the setup day of Gen Con, and immediately we both ran to the Plaid Hat booth, and they weren't there. There was no one there to talk to. So we talked to Emerson Matsushi, who has been working with Plaid Hat, and he was also what's going on? This is big news, and he hadn't talked to them yet either. It was a huge surprise. I'm not sure if it was just because Colby Dowk, the president of Plaid Hat, was such an open guy in talking about his business, and he was so open in many other ways that we had no hint that this was going to happen, and it was just such a surprise and great news. I think it's a great merger. I think the two have been working well together. They have a great presence at Essen this past year. It's good news. It was just such a surprise to find out on the floor of Gen Con the day before it opened.
Yeah, this is really funny to me because every time there's a merger like this, and there may have been a merger announced in the past week since we've recorded this podcast. But when these mergers are announced, everyone says the sky is falling, the sky is falling. But the fact is I've seen the new Gen Con map. Some people mentioned about Gen Con getting bigger. It is getting bigger. Yeah. They're adding tons more exhibitor space because there's that many more exhibitors. We're having to fight to get a booth at Gen Con. And that's because there's more and more publishers. So a couple of them merging is not a horrible thing. And secondly,
we can consolidate a little bit.
We look at these mergers. The Fantasy Flight, as when they merger, has the sky fallen. It's been a year now. They're doing okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who else merged too? They Asmodee bought some of there's
Days of Wonder.
Days of Wonder. And in my opinion, Days of Wonder has gotten exponentially better.
Yeah, they're a lot more communicative. We get to see some of their stuff more earlier, which is great.
So I don't see these mergers hurting things, but they are big news. Another big news that no one mentioned was, and this may not seem that big to you, but Asmodee also bought Spot It this year. And Spot It is not one of those games you think much about, but it's sold a lot. We're talking apples to apples, a lot of games.
Yeah,
and so
very popular.
Them picking that up, I think it's also big news that every single convention that we went to this year was either sold out or was reaching what felt like it should be sold out if it was the kind that doesn't sell out, like Gen Con or Essen.
Yeah.
Every convention grew. Every single convention. I don't know one convention that shrunk. Origins grew by 10%. Gen Con grew by, I think, 10%. Essen did not grow by a lot, but it felt like it did.
Yeah. Origins didn't feel crowded. I think Origins still has some room to grow there. I didn't get the impression that things were scrunched the way they are at, say, Gen Con or Essen.
Yeah, Essen needs another hall too, don't they?
They have them there. They just haven't opened them up. I think they're just trying to keep things manageable.
Open them up, Essen.
Yeah.
So anyhow, there's a lot of different news and things happening, and companies are shifting. And for the most part, it's good. We've had some bad news. A couple companies have gone bankrupt over the course of the year, smaller companies. Mm-hmm. There was a couple, again, Kickstarters not fulfilling their stuff. Nothing huge, but still some that's going on. But for the most part, it was a pretty positive year in the course of news.
Oh, by the way, if you're playing Error Bingo, Paul Owen called the first game from Plaid Hat Games Sentinel Wars. That's not the name of it.
Ooh, that's my center square. I'm good.
It's Summoner Wars. Sorry, Colby.
It's surprising.
Sometimes a game doesn't look like much, but then, surprise, it's fantastic. Now it's time for our top pleasant surprises of 2015.
Jeff here, and my biggest surprise this year was Triumph and Tragedy from GMT Games. This is a strategic level World War II game that actually starts before the war in 36 and is much more open-ended than the traditional World War II game. I'm a big fan of these types of strategic level World War II games, and this one caught me totally by surprise with a very unique take on the subject, and is definitely worth checking out if you're at all interested in this time period.
Hello, my friends, the Game Boy Geek here. My biggest surprise is Think Straight, and that's spelled STR and the number 8. You have to import it from Europe. It's not distributed here in the US. The reason why it's a big surprise for me is it looks like garbage. The board is very thin, the cards are awful, the components are terrible. And it's from like a smaller publisher, but the game's amazing. It's like Code 777. It's a deduction game where you're trying to figure out your own tiles in front of you that you can't see with betting involved. It's great.
Hey, it's the Four Corners here. The announcement of reprints with all the new Kickstarter games and the huge call to the new still going strong. It's nice to see the older games being released so new people to the hobby can get their chance to play. For me, I'd been looking to purchase Colosseum, so it was a big and pleasant surprise to me that it was going to be reprinted. As for the biggest surprise in the game, it has to be Food Chain Magnate. I had not heard too much about it, but after the first play, I was hooked. For Megan, it was Star Trek: The 5-Year Mission. When she first read the rules, it didn't look like anything special, but once we started playing, it was quick, fun, and collaborative, and more exciting than she ever expected.
Hello, this is Ignacy Szewczak, and the biggest surprise for me happened during the Gen Con when Z-Man announced that they will purchase Plaid Hat Games. It was like a shock for me.
And this is Stephen Bonacore, and again, we're going to agree on this one. The Z-Man purchase of Plaid Hat was huge, surprising news. It was also kind of a big news story, but I think the surprise factor coming right during Gen Con. Great work, Z-Man, and kudos to Colby and the Plaid Hat team for being part of another great company.
Hey guys, this is Sean. The biggest surprise of 2015 has got to be Barony. Now, this game came out of nowhere for me. I hadn't even heard of it until I saw it at Gen Con, which is a bit surprising since it was designed by Marc-Andre, who had a huge hit last year with Splendor. It's a tight, beautiful action selection area control game with some great components. Now, nobody would blame you if you hadn't heard of it, but give Barony a shot if you get the chance.
This is Chris with our biggest surprise in 2015. Back on the same episode in 2014, our biggest disappointment was the slave cards in 5 Tribes. Well, Days of Wonder listened, and in their second printing of 5 Tribes, the slave cards have been replaced by fakirs. Not to mention that you can go on Board Game Geek's store and actually pick up these fakirs as replacements for your original printing of 5 Tribes. Thanks for listening, Days of Wonder, and now we can all get the games to the table.
Hey, this is Patrick, and my biggest surprise for 2015 has got to be Steamworks, a tasty minstrel title that a lot of people aren't talking about, and I don't understand why. It is this great tile-laying engine efficiency game that I love. I think it's innovative, I think it's interesting, and I have had a blast playing it, and so have a lot of the people I've played it with. So my big surprise for 2015 is Steamworks.
This is Brian Counter. My biggest surprise was Steampunk Rally. I love dice chucking, but it looked like it was a micromanagement of dice. Once you play, something emerges, which is really cool. If you're playing Edison versus Tesla versus Curie, whatever, it feels like you're building something cool, flavor takes over, and yeah, there's a race, but it's just fun messing with the dice and making stuff work, and the flavor of the parts feels like you're watching an old cool 70s show that I loved when I was a kid called Wild Wild West. Good stuff.
Hi, it's Chris Renshaw again, and to me, the biggest surprise of 2015 was Valley of the Kings Afterlife. I never played the first Valley of the Kings. That slipped under my radar, but when I sat down to play Afterlife, I was just like, oh, it's just another deck building game. There's not going to be really anything new here, but there actually was. I was really surprised by that. Just a whole lot of new mechanics packed into a very tiny box. And so that's my biggest surprise of 2015 is Valley of the Kings Afterlife.
This is Sean from the Dukes of Dice podcast, and my biggest surprise of the year was Deception, Murder in Hong Kong from Grey Fox Games. This is as if Mysterium and the Resistance had a baby. This game is awesome. It just came out in retail and fulfilled the Kickstarters. Fantastic. Huge surprise to me.
And this is Alex. My top surprise of the year was Elysium. This is a game that style-wise I didn't think I was going to enjoy so much, but when it came down to brass tacks, it was one that I ended up giving the top rating we can give.
Hello, Eric Teo here, and my biggest surprise for 2015 is Codenames. Now, I'm not such a big fan of party games. Usually I feel that you need the right group of people to play party games, but I was really surprised to get Codenames and then try it out, and it played really well. I mean, another surprise is that it's from Vlada Javato, who came out with games like Galaxy Truckers and Mage Knight, which is really, really thinky and takes a lot of brain power. So I was kind of surprised to see that he came out with a party game and that it actually plays well. Very awesome, easy to bring to the table. Everybody can learn easily and play fast and have a lot of fun with it. So that's my biggest surprise for 2015, and that's Codenames.
Hey, it's Dan. My biggest surprise of 2015 was Pandemic Legacy. Not only did they take a game that I was so on to begin with and turn it into a hype machine, but it turned out that it was really, really good, and it really keeps you going through all those games. Gotta say, this is a game that lives up to the hype, and I think everybody should play it, and it is hugely surprising how good it really is. Pandemic Legacy.
Greg Schlosser here with my biggest surprise for the year 2015. That has got to be Roll for the Galaxy by Rio Grande Games. I have never been a fan of Race for the Galaxy. I just found the number of icons present on the cards to be confusing and just frankly to be an overload. So I was very dubious about Roll for the Galaxy, and surprise, it turned out to be an excellent game and one of my top favorite games for 2015. So there it is, Roll for the Galaxy.
Hey folks, Mark Street here. You know, the biggest surprise hit of the year for me was The Grizzled. I didn't expect much out of this game at all, but it just fires on all cylinders for me. You know, there's great tension in the game, it's a hard-to-win game, it's a cooperative game, and it just keeps you coming back for more, and I can't recommend it enough. Go check it out.
Hey everyone, Mark Zielinski here, and my biggest surprise for 2015 has to be Tides of Time by Portal Games. With just 18 cards and a little notepad and a pencil, it gives me the full collectible card gaming experience in 20 minutes. And I really like it. And it's highly portable, and you can just play this game anywhere, and it's just awesome. So if you get a chance, check it out, Tides of Time.
Dicey Chic here. My biggest surprise is actually a series of small games, each the size of a pack of gum. They are Perplexed Pack-O game, containing 8 games that are fun to play, but so compact that you can bring the whole bunch with you when you travel or even to a restaurant to play while waiting for your food. I've only tried a few so far, but I have really enjoyed them.
It's Niels again, and now it's time for biggest surprise. 2015 Pandemic Legacy. You see, I have the red box. In 3 months, from 0 to spot number 3 on Board Game Geek. Wow, even if I expected that will become a huge hit, I never expected. Spot number 3 in only 3 months. That's outstanding.
Eric and Don here again from Onboard Games. My largest surprise was Burgle Brothers. I really wanted to like it, but I was afraid that it wouldn't be as interesting as it looked. And when I finally got to play it at BGG-Con, I was smitten. I was in deep smit.
I thought that we were supposed to do industry stuff on this one, so I was just going to say that I'm surprised that people are actually starting to make interesting games with deck building mechanisms. Instead of just using, hey, we have deck building, it's the entire game. I guess it sort of started last year, but I played Prince's the Dragon Throne and Outguard Chosen again, where deck building is sort of a part of what's going on instead of hey, this whole game is simply about building my deck and then not doing anything with it.
Cool. Well, I'm Eric.
And I'm Donald.
From Onboard Games.
This is Ryan from Out of Game, and my biggest surprise of the year had to have been the game Codenames. I did not expect to have a party game be one of my favorite games I played this year. I didn't even really hear much about this game before Gen Con. I saw a bunch of people playing it, and when we finally got it to the table, this game was a blast. It's probably one of my favorite party games now. So, biggest surprise of the year for me was Codenames.
Marty and Tony here. Big surprise for me was when AEG sold Legend of the Five Rings to FFG. Tony, that was kind of their staple product for a while. With both the CCG and the RPG, I was kind of surprised they did that.
Oh, me too, Marty. But hey, good for us, because if anything, Fantasy Flights knows how to do a LCG and get it out there. But I'm sure we're not the only ones that were like, say, what?
Yeah, I know, and it looks like it's more money coming out of our pockets.
Hey now, this is Jamie from the Secret Cabal, and the most surprising game of 2015 was Warbands Against the Darkness. This thing was a surprise because I had no idea it was even coming. All of a sudden it was there, and I got a hold of it and I played it, and boy, I really did like it. I mean, I looked at the components and everything and it looked kind of boring. Then I played it, and boy, oh boy, it's a great, great game. Some challenging choices, some great competitive elements, the theme comes together well. Warbands Against the Darkness.
Jonathan from the Snakes Cast. At the end of 2014, it looked like app-based games were going to become a thing. XCOM, World of Yo-Ho, Alchemists. This is an exciting new direction for board games to take, incorporating digital technology. And my biggest surprise of 2015 was that since then, there's been nothing. In Alchemists and XCOM, these were both well-received games that have a lot of fans. So where are all the app-based games?
Hi, Suzanne here, and my biggest surprise of the year was Risk Star Wars. Who thought a mass-market, licensed property game could be so much fun? Sure, when I heard the buzz starting to pick up, I was pretty skeptical, but now that I've gotten to play it, wow. I had to go out and order the fancy black edition as soon as I could.
Hi, this is Takras. The biggest surprise for me was Pandemic Legacy. Well, of course, the game was announced a lot sooner, but when I just got the game and started playing it, I was totally surprised by how good it actually was.
Hey, this is Tom Kendrick, and my biggest surprise of 2015 was the announcement of Warhammer Quest by Fantasy Flight Games. To take a nostalgic game, transform it into a cocktail of mechanics from some of their strongest titles, the Lord of the Rings card game Descent and Death Angel, into a teeny, affordable package reminded me, once again, of how amazing a company Fantasy Flight Games are.
Hey, Luke Hector here, and if you want a surprising game this year, check out The Pursuit of Happiness by Artipier Games. This was told to me as the Euro version of Game of Life. That's not exactly a concept that sells you instantly, but when you get into the worker placement aspects of basically taking your life from birth to death, however you like, with projects, items, jobs, families, the lot, it's a really cool concept and a really fun little game. And this time, I don't have to end up with a ton of blue and pink pegs in my car.
Hey everyone, this is Tim Jeanette, the Metal Meeple, and the biggest surprise for me this year was Why First by AEG. It's a small little filler game, it's chaotic, it's random, and I didn't think I would like the randomness to it, because you really don't have a lot of strategy, but it's a very fun game, because it's so quick, it's so short and loud. I just really like it. It's a really interesting concept. So, anyway, until next time, keep on rocking, rolling dice.
I was sort of hemming and hawing over a couple of games for this. I really enjoyed Frontier Stations from Victory Point Games, which was a surprise. It doesn't look like much. That game, the graphic design works. It does what it needs to do, but it's not the prettiest game in the world. But I was really happy with it. But I think probably the game that surprised me, that I had no idea, I did not know this game existed until it arrived as a review copy, and that was Ophir. This lovely little pick up and deliver game with only 7 hexes in the whole thing. And you're trying to pick up and deliver stuff and moving around the board. But because it's so small, you interact with everybody else so much faster. And you can get from one place to another in a couple of turns. Really neat game, and the production is so over the top and solid and chunky pieces and large chunks of gold that fit in the boat and this temple that you build, and it sort of stacks up as a 3D structure. Really neat game. Big surprise. Didn't even know it existed, and it was one of my favorites of the year. Ophir.
Yeah, there was so many surprises for me over the course of the year. If you go look on our video channel, I've done a top 10 surprises. That's how many there were. Just some, like I mentioned already, some of the very notable Kickstarter games that came out of nowhere, Stockpile and Asking for Troubles. But I think the one that surprised me the most was Mage Wars Academy, because I did not expect it to be much. They said, it's a simplified version of Mage Wars. And I thought, so?
Okay.
I mean, granted, the rulebook does say, based on an idea by Tom Vassell, because I had told them you should have a learning version of Mage Wars. For people to get into it, because it's a pretty complex game. So they made it, except this learning version, or the simpler version, is much more fun. Getting rid of that big board and putting it all down just fast, quick, and dirty, I like it much better that way. And I love Mage Wars, so I was really surprised. I thought it would be like, I'd play it and go, oh, that's good for babies. But instead I was like, I like this better. Yay! Mage Wars Academy.
So you're saying your biggest surprise is that someone listened to one of your ideas?
That is always surprising.
Blah! A game we thought would be terrific, and it's not. Sadly, it's time for our top biggest disappointments of 2015.
Hello, Dan Hughes here. Now, I very rarely back Kickstarters. In fact, I've been known to get very grumpy about them. However, I was very keen to back And Then We Held Hands recently. It's a game teetering on the edge of being art, and I really wanted to support that. Unfortunately, I was really disappointed by the minuscule size of the board. It had the opportunity to be a lovely, zen-like experience, but instead, I just feel like a fat-fingered Gulliver playing a board game with the Lilliputians. Never again, Kickstarter. Never again.
Okay, here goes the nasty one. What's Barry's biggest disappointment of 2015? Well, I have to say it's Time Stories. I was so looking forward to a fantastic, juicy game, and I find out that it's just a choose-your-own-adventure book which you can play once, and that's it. You can't play it again after that. Don't get me wrong, I do love choose-your-own-adventure books, but if I die in a story, I'll move on to another book, because I hate reading the same thing over and over again to try and get to the end of a game.
It's the Force Corners here. My biggest disappointment has to be Roll for the Galaxy. Race for the Galaxy is in my top 5 games, but my 2 co-hosts really disliked the game. I had high hopes that Roll for the Galaxy would be the game that would bridge the gap between us, as my co-hosts like dice games. Well, it completely fell flat. Nobody liked the game enough to want to play it again. Luckily, Race for the Galaxy works well for 2 players, so my third co-host and I can still enjoy one of my favorite games, while Roll for the Galaxy sits collecting dust on my shelf. For B, his biggest disappointment was XCOM the board game, because he felt it was just like taking a single-player video game and converting it into a multiplayer board game without adding anything new. He would prefer just to go back and play XCOM Terror of the Deep on his computer.
This is Anthony, and my biggest disappointment of 2015 was to some degree Gen Con. I think I was expecting this magical land of fairies and games raining from the sky, and a lot of those big releases were kind of held off for Essen, and I felt a little disappointed because I couldn't go to Essen. And Gen Con was amazing, but not as many big game releases as I was expecting for this year.
Hey, this is Patrick. This is Jeremy. And our biggest disappointment has got to be Rattle, Battle, Grab the Loot. Look, a game cannot be a disappointment if you weren't looking forward to it. I mean, and what wasn't to look forward to in this game? Ignacy Chevicek, Portal, a dice-chucking game with ship combat. I mean, that sounds great!
But it wasn't. It was too fiddly. There was just too much going on and not enough payout. And it just ended up not being much fun.
Yeah, so our biggest disappointment, Rattle Battle, Grab the Loot.
This is Brian Counter, and my biggest disappointment was the X-Files, the board game. I was really looking forward to this, as I respect the designer and still do, but there's really not much of a game there. I don't mean that in a snobbery kind of way. It's just getting tokens and moving stuff around versus the Cancer Man. And most of the fun that you have during that game is elicited by a remembrance of the TV show and X did this versus Mulder and so on, and that can be fun. But the game itself is a little lackluster, so I was pretty disappointed.
Hey, Chris Renshaw again, and the biggest disappointment of 2015 had to be Epic Card Game. When the Kickstarter really came out, it was really billed as, hey, this is going to be a cool LCG in a box that you can play with your friends, and it's really cheap, and everybody can easily get in on it. But then when it came out, it was just a very bad ripoff of Magic the Gathering. And so it just got too convoluted, and just that's why I was excited for this game, and it just ended up being the biggest disappointment. That's Epic Card Game.
This is Alex from the Dukes of Dice podcast, and my biggest disappointment of the year was Between Two Cities, the city building game. It just felt like I had such high hopes for this one, and I was a little bit let down just by the lack of replayability and by the lack of variability that's available with this. Just didn't quite live up to the hype for me.
For me, Sean, my biggest disappointment was Voyages of Marco Polo. Not a bad game, but it was designed by the designers of Zolkin, one of my all-time favorites, and it just didn't live up to the hype I'd built up for it.
Hey, it's Dan. And the biggest disappointment is always a hard one each year because you look at hype from the world and you look at hype for yourself. Like hype from everybody in the world, Tesla vs. Edison was supposed to be a huge game, and it just wasn't fun at all. But I was really, really looking forward to Epic. When you take a game from the designers of Star Realms, you expect their next game to be a really good game, knock it out of the park, and for it to be a ton of fun. But this game just wasn't. Epic. My biggest disappointment.
Jeff Pure. And for me, the biggest disappointment of the year was Rum and Bones from Cool Mini or Not. I first saw it at Gen Con, and it looked really, really cool, and I really liked the kind of the League of Legends lane idea with the minions. Was able to get a good deal on it and picked it up, and I've played it several times, and it just has fallen short every time. It's just too long for what it is, and just has never really clicked for us.
Hi, this is Greg Schlosser with my biggest disappointment for the year 2015. While there were several games I didn't particularly care for, my biggest disappointment probably has to be Hengeist. And this is a Uwe Rosenberg design, a designer who's done such wonderful games, such as the Caverna, Agricola, Laha, Bonanza, and so many more. It's also from Lookout Games, a company that's produced numerous good games. However, the game is just bad, just not fun to play. Avoid this one at all costs.
This is Jared Whitley again. My biggest disappointment was Star Trek 5-Year Mission. We all want a great, easily playable Star Trek game, but 2015 was not the year for it to happen.
Mark Zielinski here, and the biggest disappointment for 2015 has to be Games Workshop's Age of Sigmar. After blowing up the Warhammer world, Games Workshop rebooted their fantasy game system to bring in new fans, and boy, I'll tell you what, Age of Sigmar just fell incredibly flat for me. Sales for this are down across the globe. There are some people playing it, but by far, the biggest disappointment for 2015 was Age of Sigmar.
Dicey Chic here. My biggest disappointment is Time Stories. This is a $50 game that can only be played by each person one time. It started out really interesting, but eventually devolved into tedium. Without giving any spoilers, I'll just say there are some annoying things that should have been implemented better. Also, the game does not give enough time for exploration. I don't see how anyone can complete the entire first scenario on the first go. For the price, I would expect a few scenarios in the main box. After all, they are basically just cards, and the expansion is no better.
And again, Niels Hertzmann, let's talk about the biggest disappointment for me. Guardians Chronicles. Good publisher, good looking game, great theme. And the game just simply not deliver for me.
So, Eric, what's your biggest disappointment of 2015?
So I've been playing the Pathfinder card game, just really rocking and rolling through it. I get the 6th deck, I shuffle it in, we're playing it, and we realize that the backs of the cards are a different shade, a noticeably different shade than all the rest of the cards. So now we can tell at a glance if a particular location is going to use a new card, which almost invariably means it's going to be a monster, a villain, or not. And it was like popping a balloon. It just let the wind completely out of our sails.
Well, I can't remember any one particular disappointment because, I tend to put my disappointments where they belong and bury those bad boys. But I am kind of disappointed that there are still so many bad rules. Not rules. Actually, books. Books of rules.
This is Ryan from Out of Game, and my biggest disappointment of the year had to be the game Harbor, Tasty Minstrel Games. So I love the game Le Havre, and when I saw Harbor on Kickstarter, it looked to me like a fantasy-themed shorter version of Le Havre. And I don't know, when I got to the table, it just completely fell flat. I didn't feel like anyone was really having fun. Although the cards and the art and everything were great, it just wasn't a fun game. So my biggest disappointment, Harbor.
Hey now, this is Jamie from the Secret Cabal, and my most disappointing game of 2015 is Montanai by Carl Chudik. It's supposed to be the spiritual successor to Glory to Rome, which is my favorite game of all time. The artwork is boring. The theme is boring. The game just isn't as good as Glory to Rome. I mean, the game is fine. It's fun and everything, and it's not a bad game. It's just, I was really expecting something special, and I didn't get it. Stick with Glory to Rome. It's best game ever designed.
Hi, Suzanne here, and my biggest disappointment of the year is Hengist. Usually I'm a huge fan of Uwe Rosenberg's two-player games, but Hengist just fell completely flat. But hey, even All-Stars have an off game, and in spite of Hengist's disappointment, I'm still looking forward to Uwe's next two-player creation.
Hello, this is Takros. The biggest letdowns for 2015 has got to be Kickstarter. Well, not Kickstarter itself, obviously, but the games I got in the mail this year. Games like Tiny Epic Defenders, Tower, Harbor, are not receiving games at all. So I really hope that Kickstarter games will deliver next year, because I have high hopes for a couple of games that will be released the next year.
Hello, my friends, the Game Boy Geek here. My biggest disappointment is called They Come Unseen. This is a hidden movement game created by a Navy captain, and the reason why it was disappointing was because I had huge high hopes for this because I love hidden movement. It's not that it's a bad game, but I had such high hopes for it, and it was just pretty clunky, and it could have been streamlined a lot more. It had been in development for like 30 years, and it kind of showed its age.
Hey, the Broken Meeple here, and I'm sorry, Cool Mini or not, but you disappointed me with Xenoshift Onslaught. I should have loved a co-op sci-fi Starship Troopers game, but a poorly designed insert, poorly made cards, difficulty spikes up the wazoo unless you spam certain cards, and a time length that got ridiculous when you played it with 4 players. Sorry, this game just did not work for me, and it ended up on the trade pile very quickly.
Hey everyone, this is Tim Jeanette, the Metal Meeple, and for me, my biggest disappointment was Flip City. This game's too fiddly for me. It was a cool concept, but the fact that if you move the cards around, you can inadvertently cheat very quickly. And you have to do a lot of things to mitigate that just to make it work properly. And I just felt like the game overall was just kind of like you play it and play it and play it, and then somebody just wins. You don't really even understand that somebody's getting close sometimes. But I don't know. That's just how I felt. So till next time, keep on rocking and rolling dice.
What?
I always hate doing these disappointing and worst game categories. I always feel really mean. But probably my biggest... The thing about a disappointment is that it's not necessarily a bad game, but it just wasn't what you expected. And for me, that's XCOM. I was very excited to play this after the initial hype. Made sure I carved out some time to play this at one of the first conventions that it was available, and worked through the tutorials, and really, I'm so excited to play this game, and it just wasn't what I wanted it to be. The app stuff was really cool, and then the resolution of the whole thing with all the dice rolling and the probabilities and how you can just get totally wiped out through no fault of your own. I wanted the app portion to be more of the game and the more planning and a little bit more of a resource management thing than a let's roll a bunch of dice and hope that you survive sort of thing. So this one fell flat for me. A disappointment, XCOM.
I can understand that. Were you a big fan of XCOM, the computer game?
Never seen it.
Oh. All right. Well, a lot of people mentioned games that were disappointments for me. Certainly Star Trek 5-Year Mission and certainly Rattle Battle, Hold the Loot. And some people mentioned some good games, so shame on them. But anyhow, or Hengist, Jeff mentioned, that was also a disappointment. For me, I think it'd be Forge War. This was a Kickstarter that just looked amazing. Go through and, you're going through a dungeon on quests and things. And it looked very interesting, and it was, but it just kind of became very mechanical. It was very long. The whole thing just did not work very well. So it was kind of a dud for me. That would be Forge War.
For me, 5-Year Mission actually is the opposite. My estimation has increased since I played it again recently.
Well, let me be more specific. I was even more disappointed in 5-Year Mission because Eric had said it was good, but he lied. He lied. I was actually assuming it wasn't going to be that good. Then I was listening to Eric's review, and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's good. Okay, I went into it. Yeah, okay, guys, well, come on. And then when everyone left, they're like, Tom, we hate you. I'm like, yeah, well, I hate Eric.
I'm sorry I let you down.
So my biggest disappointment this year, Eric Summerer.
Great. Yes. Great.
Great design needs great bits. From miniatures to card design to plastic and wooden pieces, here are the games with the best components from 2015.
Hello, my friends. It's the Game Boy Geek here. The best components for me was from Flick 'em Up, that out west dexterity game where you're setting up all these cowboys, you're putting hats on them. They have these huge buildings like saloon. You're setting up the entire, saloon, the streets, the bales of hay, accomplices, things like that. And the components were top notch here, but it is an expensive game. I think it's somewhere around $70.
It's the Four Corners here. My game with the best components is my Kickstarter TMG edition of Orleans. But if I had to pick a game that was widely available, I would have to say Flick 'em Up. Just so many wooden pieces, and it comes in a wooden box. Fantastic. A close second would be Ghostbusters, just for the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man Mini. For B, it's the World of Smog on Her Majesty's Service. Everything about the components is thematic and well crafted. For Lella, it's Flick 'em Up. Lots of thematic wooden pieces.
This is Chris with the best components in 2015. Great components just don't look good, but they provide a world and a place in which you can dwell in and really experience the narrative that the game designer is bringing to you. There are no greater components in 2015 that we've come across than those in Blood Rage, especially those of the monsters that really kind of give you the feel of annihilation that you're going to get involved in. So if you're looking for great components, check out Blood Rage.
Hey everybody, it's the Board Game Point of View, and the best components for 2015, basically anything Star Wars related.
Better believe it.
Not even just games that came out in 2015, but expansions for Star Wars X-Wing. Super, super, super cool.
So basically, Star Wars plus Fantasy Flight equals
pure bliss and never-ending joy.
Right.
Nice.
This is Sean from the Dukes of Dice podcast, and for me, best components, hands down, Cthulhu Wars. These amazing giant minis, they're as big as me. Fantastic game and better minis.
And this is Alex, and my top game for components is The Gallerist. This is one that just elevated this game. Beautifully stylized, well done stuff. The Gallerist, best for components for me.
Hey, Eric Teo here, and the best components in a game for 2015 for me is Blood Rage. Now, you have already seen all the Kickstarter, you have seen the images on Kickstarter, you've seen images on Board Game Geek, and you've seen the videos, and you will probably have seen the game itself. The components are awesome. They're big, chunky miniatures with very intricate details, so much so that I really want to bring out my paint brushes and paint it. But I know that I will probably mess up, and I do not want to scar the miniatures. If you get the Kickstarter edition, you also get a lot of very cool components that the retail edition did not have, like player markers and yeah, all in all, the components are awesome. You have to be careful of the sea serpent though, because there's a very sharp point on the sea serpent that might actually injure someone, but that speaks to how much attention to detail that they paid to the miniatures. So that's my best components for 2015, Blood Rage.
Hi, this is Flip from Flip the Table. And as far as the best game component, this game packs a huge punch. And the components are just fantastic. I'm talking about Rhino Hero, of course, and the cape. The cape that you could get from Gen Con. I put that thing on and I wore it all day long. I might have slept in it. I'm not going to admit that here. Anyway, Rhino Hero with the cape.
Hey, it's Dan. My best components of 2015 go to Flick 'em Up by Pretzel Games. Not really much to say. They're big and chunky. They're easy to flick. It's got a ton of fun to play, a lot of replay, and even a scorekeeping to the items that you're hitting, to the little meeple dudes. Everything's great. Flick 'em Up. Best components of 2015.
Greg Schlosser here, talking about the game that has the best components for the year 2015. There were many games that had pretty impressive components with neat plastic miniatures, but I think the best has to be Cthulhu Wars. Of course, I'm an H.P. Lovecraft fan, so I always have a soft spot in my heart for Cthulhu and those other creatures of the H.P. Lovecraft realm. But oh my gosh, this new version of the game just has some incredible miniatures that just are so impressive to look at. So, best components, Cthulhu Wars.
Hi there, Niels Hertzmann, back again.
The best game 2015 component-wise is Porta Nigra. Please take a look at these cool 3D tower buildings. Is that cool? Best components 2015 Porta Nigra.
From Onboard Games. And component-wise, Don, what you got?
Ooh, I played Blood Rage at Board Game Geek Con, and maybe it's because my friend had all the Kickstarter goodness. But, oh, man, I love me some Vikings. And they did a great job building out the game and playing with all the pieces, and I just had a lot of fun with it.
Cool. For me, it's been Imperial Assault. Motivated me to paint all of the miniatures because they were so cool looking, and even to the point of printing out 3D printed versions of terminals and companion cubes. I mean, supply crates and doors. So, yeah, the components in Imperial Assault are just awesome.
Oh, I tell you what, maybe I should have said Cthulhu Wars, because I like the big Cthulhu statues, but no, I'm going to stick with Blood Rage.
Cool.
This is Ryan from Out of Game, and I would say the game with the best components of the year has to be Flick 'em Up. Probably going to hear this from others. I mean, just talk about all wood, amazing components that really bring the theme out, and also a great game. But best components of the year by far, Flick 'em Up.
Tony and Marty, best components. For me, it had to be Blood Rage. Those minis are incredible in that game. Once again, cool mini. You knocked it out of the park.
For me, it's got to be The Gallerist. This game has incredible components. The cardboard, Tony, is so thick on each of the components. And the art is really nice on it. And you get the little wooden easels to put your little pictures and paintings on. It's so cute.
Hey now, this is Jamie from The Secret Cabal, and the best components from 2015, it's gotta be Cthulhu Wars. Cthulhu Wars is a good game. I do like it. Not as good as Chaos in the Old World, but I like it. But the components are fantastic. You get gigantic miniatures. The sculpts are amazing for a board game. Cthulhu Wars has some great components, and I love it. It's too expensive, though. Far too expensive. It prices itself out of the market. I like the game, love the components, just can't justify paying the money for the thing.
Jonathan from the Snakes Cast, and it's totally the miniatures from Blood Rage. I mean, seriously, their muscles have muscles.
Hello, this is Stalkers again. For best components of 2015, I have to go with Mysterium. Not the one from Portal Games, though. It is the one from Asmodee. This game is just great. It has all the components you need and even more, and they really put some effort into this production value. So Mysterium from Asmodee has got to have the best components of 2015, and it is a good game as well.
Hi, this is Trent Howell, and my vote for best game components goes to Super Dungeon Explorer Forgotten King. It's a fun Dungeon Explorer type game with a ton of cool minis, but what's even best is it has a mini-boss named Trent. What's better than that, to have a little mini-boss named after me? Okay, maybe not named after me, but it's cool to have one anyway. Super Dungeon Explorer Forgotten King.
Broken Meeple speaking, and best components, oh my god, where do I begin? There's so many choices, but I'm going to say Forbidden Stars. Forbidden Stars had a mix of everything. Really cool little miniatures, great cards, great artwork, lovely thick tiles, lots of tokens. It had a lot in that game, and when you play this with 3 or 4 players, it looks epic on the table. It was a difficult choice, and I accept that there were lots of great components out there, but Forbidden Stars takes my spot.
Hey everyone, this is Timogen at the Metal Meeple, and hands down the best components goes to Blood Rage. by Cool Mini or not, being that I'm a miniature person, War Machine being my favorite game, and yeah, I know miniatures are kind of a cop-out for components because you can make those very good and the rest of the components can lack, and it's still great looking, but it just has some amazing miniatures, amazing components. I mean, everything in that game is probably overproduced, but at the same time, I love it. Anyway, till next time, keep on rocking and rolling dice.
Components. I have to go with Blood Rage, which several other people mentioned. One of my favorite moments of Dice Tower Con, when Eric Lang, designer of Blood Rage, was showing us this game, and he was marveling over these miniatures. They are fantastic. And he picked one up, I think the Sea Serpent, and said, "Look how tough these things are." And he hurled it against the wall, and then stepped on it, and it was fine because it's this really solid plastic. But the molds themselves and the look of these monsters makes you covet these things. You want them on your team. And if you missed out on the draft for the Lava Beast or the Cave Troll or something, you're really bumming out because these cool little minis are fantastic additions to your team. It really brings out the theme, makes you want these guys, and it brings you into the story of this game.
If you had been there, you would have seen Eric look of horror and my look of joy.
Yes.
It was such a great moment. The thing about 2015 is we are at a level of quality now where if your game has good components, we're like, not good enough. I mean, really.
Yeah, well, it just being passable isn't enough.
And people say all sorts of derogatory stuff like Blood Rage, for example. They'll be like, there's a pile of plastic and stuff in there, blah, blah, blah. You just like the miniatures. Well, the fact is I do like miniatures, but the game is amazing. But even if the game isn't amazing, those miniatures are that good. But other stuff people mentioned, Flick 'em Up looks like this deluxe game. Forbidden Stars, you look at it, it's amazing. I almost picked Blood Rage myself, but I went with Rum and Bones, which is the exact same company. And it's just, I liked all the different pirate miniatures. And you put the ships out on the board, the whole thing just looks great. And I'm giving Rum and Bones a slight edge over Blood Rage because the board looks better. Okay, but it's tough. Okay, Cool Mini or not is just killing it. And I mean, miniatures these days are just getting better and better. Soda Pop miniatures are looking really good. Fantasy Flight miniatures are getting better. So if your miniatures don't look that good, it's like, what is this? But it's not just miniatures. Even Euro games. The Gallerist, I think, Marty mentioned that. It's phenomenal looking. It just really looks beautiful. I was looking at a game yesterday called Burano, which just has blocks and pathways, and they just look gorgeous. I mean, everything mentioned except for Nils put Porta Nigra. That's not good components. But the rest of them are. It's just an amazingly good year for components.
In a game world filled with great illustrations and badly done Photoshop, we need good art. Here are the games with the best artwork from 2015.
Hey chaps, the best art in game for 2015 I think is going to be unanimous this year. It is going to be Time Stories. From the Stark box to the very colourful interior cards, this game is just dripping with beauty. Beauty? Yeah, beautified. Space Cowboys also went out of the way to make a fabulous advertising campaign and beautiful website to go with it. Hopefully, this is the future of board gaming. If only I had a time machine.
Hello, my friends. It's the Game Boy Geek here. Best art for me is Time Stories. Now, the reason why I like it this for art is not only the individual pieces of art that are on the backs of the cards that you actually look at most of the game, but it's how when they're on the board, they lay out into this amazing panoramic picture, and having all the different views of the rooms look like that just draws you into the story. Not to mention the backside of the cards look amazing too. That's Time Stories.
It's the Four Corners here. By far, my game with the best art is The World of Smog on Her Majesty's Service. The art on everything, from the box to the board to the player boards, is all fantastic. This is one game that the art takes the game to a whole other level. For Lella, Elysium has the best art for her. She loves the pictures on the cards.
This is Chris with the best artwork in 2015. Back in 2014, Javier Collet blew us away with Abyss. Now here he is again in 2015 with Mysterium. Artwork is not just about looking great, but it's also about providing a world and mechanics for gameplay. So here you are in Mysterium, trying to figure out what the spirits are telling you through these amazing dreams. Everything is outstanding in this game, top to bottom, the best artwork, Mysterium.
Hey everybody, it's the Board Game Point of View. Heyo. And our best art for 2015 is Ashes, Rise of the Phoenixborn by Plaid Hat Games.
Yeah, the art style for this game is pretty awesome. The colors are super vivid. They pop out of the card and really draw attention to whatever's going on.
I mean, I saw somebody called like Divina Odin Stone or something.
Demona Odin-Star?
Yes.
Phoenixborn of Rayward?
Yep.
Her face scares me.
Hi, this is Rob. The best artwork in 2015 for me is Kingdom Death Monster. Now, if you take out all the risque bits, there is a lot of beautiful art in that big rule book. And the backs of the cards even is just, it's like a masterpiece. The sculpts are detailed and they're really interesting to look at. So for me, Kingdom Death Monster has the best art.
This selection does not represent the views of the rest of Blue Peg, Pink Peg.
Hi, Chris Renshaw again. And the best art of 2015 goes to Ashes, Rise of the Phoenixborn. Oh my gosh, this game is just beautiful. All the cards are amazing. When you're playing it, everyone takes a second. Even if you're walking by while people are playing this game, people stop and look at the game because the artwork on the cards is so beautiful. My vote for best art this year has to go to Ashes, Rise of the Phoenixborn.
Hello, Dan Hughes here. Now, without a doubt, the best art of 2015 comes from the Cool Mini or Not game, The Grizzled. It's a fantastic example of near-perfect illustration. It's a wonderful recreation of the French style of cartoon from the early 20th century, making it historically accurate as well as gorgeous to look at. I really can't praise the art of The Grizzled enough. It's the only game I've ever bought solely because of the quality of the artwork. Stunning stuff.
This is Sean from the Duke's Dice Podcast, and for me, best art of the year, hands down, goes to Ashes, Rise of the Phoenixborn, with art by David Richards and Fernanda Suarez. This art is just amazing. Beautiful, vibrant colors, interesting subjects. Hands down, Ashes, Rise of the Phoenixborn from Plaid Hat Games.
Hi, Eric Teo here, and the best art for 2015 for me is Discoveries by Vincent Dutray. Now, as some of you may have known or listened to my podcast will know that I do like Vincent Dutray's art in like Lewis and Clark, and I'm very pleased to see that he has kept the aesthetics from Lewis and Clark and carried over to Discoveries. It looks really great. The board looks great to look at. The different now he drew like fishes and plants and birds and paths and stuff like that. It's really, really nice to look at. And if it was a bigger board, the bigger cards, I would see it as something that I can frame it on my wall. So I really like and admire Vincent Dutray's art. And so my best art for 2015 is Discoveries.
Hey, it's Dan, and my best art for 2015 is Elysium by Space Cowboys. Each year, I really take to the art in those games that have so much art in it because they have so many different cards, and Elysium is just one of those games. Each one of those cards could be prints you could hang on your wall, just like I said about Abyss last year. It makes the game such a joy to play and marveling at each one of the cards you play. Elysium, the best art of 2015.
Hi, this is Jason Gatarski, and my pick for best art in 2015 was Wombat Rescue by Matt Wolf from Eagle Griffin Games. The artist is Mateusz Zulik. I probably slaughtered that, but it is a cool looking game. The art, it's super quirky. It stands out in kind of what can sometimes be a dry and dreary space for games of that weight, being a kind of a Euro style light to medium game. And it is paper cutouts. It's very stylized and bright, and it really jumps out at me. It's a clever contribution to art for games in 2015.
Daisy Shakir. For best art, I'm going to say the Lord of the Rings card game expansions. The card art is really beautiful throughout the whole series, and this year's releases were no exception. Plus, I really love most anything Lord of the Rings.
Hi folks, Niels again. Best artwork 2015 wins for me. Tesla vs. Edison, Artana Games. A very clean, good Swiss old design school. Yeah, it wins for me, definitely. And very close to the best components just because of this paper money, but so close It's not.
Eric, what's your best art?
So it's a game called Clear for Takeoff, and you probably may not have heard it because it was kickstarted but didn't make it, but I got a preview copy to talk about, and they captured the look and feel of 1960s air travel so phenomenally. In fact, the game came with postcards, and the art was just beautiful. I really encourage you to head over to BGG and take a look at some of the art there because it was stellar.
And there's a lot of great art. I really can't choose one. I like a whole variety of styles. So I just think it's great that there is so much good art. I'm Donald.
And I'm Eric from Onboard Games.
This is Ryan from Out of Game, and I would say the game with the best art 2015 has to be Tides of Time, which was the only game I bought at Gen Con from a vendor and was well worth the $12 that I paid. It's a micro game, but the cards are big, and each one is like a beautiful portrait. So I think they just went above and beyond for this micro game, creating amazing art. So Tides of Time, best art of the year.
Marty and Tony here. Best art, hands down, the art on the card in Ashes Rise of the Phoenix Born. Fernanda Suarez is an incredible artist, such a great detailed artist. And since she's the one doing all the art for all those cards, it's very uniform. Love it, Tony.
Oh, me too. And they just released some of the next year's promos. Those are incredible too. I can just sit there and stare at the artwork on those cards. Love the artwork.
Hey now, this is Jamie from the Secret Cabal, and the best artwork, definitely Ryan Lockett, Above and Below. And the reason it's the best artwork, not because it just looks so beautiful and the designer did all the artwork himself, but the fact of the matter is the game has original artwork on everything. Every single worker tile you have has unique artwork of a person, and it really brings out the theme and makes you feel like you're building a society of these workers. Above and Below, great artwork.
Jonathan from the Snakes Cast. Best art of 2015 would have gone to Mysterium if they had used the same creepy Eastern European style art that they had in the Polish edition of Mysterium, but they didn't. So I'm going to give this one to Spectre Ops because of that board. Never have beauty and function been so well combined in a board that you have to spend so much time staring at. Those raised numbers, those atmospheric corridors. Oh, great stuff.
Hi, Suzanne here, and while a lot of nods for best art will deservedly go to Ashes, I want to give my vote for best art to Above and Below from Red Raven Games. All of the art from the characters to the buildings is lovely and helps enhance the story-driven elements of the game. Above and Below definitely deserves recognition for its art.
Hello, it's Takos again. Well, for best artwork, there is one game in particular that really catches my eye, and that is Time Stories. The art on these cards are just astoundingly good. They totally bring you into the story arc in this game, and I can't say too much, but the artwork here is just wow.
This is Tom Kendrick, and my favourite art of 2015, I would like to give a mention to 3 Cheers for Master, since its simple, dark, bloody, cute style was original, although overall, I think it's the new edition of Mysterium that wins the prize. I think they made some very wise decisions in their departure from the original Polish edition's style, and really showed what production design can do to the look of an already great game.
Hi, Luke Hector here, and I'm giving Celestia my spot for Best Artwork of the Year. Again, it was a tough choice, but if you saw the predecessor to this, Cloud9, you would see just how much of an upgrade Blam Games did to this. Gaten Noir, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, but you did a tremendous job bringing gorgeous artwork to this game. It looks like something you would expect a Don Bluth animated film to produce. It's that nice. Check it out, have a look, and see for yourself. I've even got the t-shirt.
Hey everyone, this is Tim Jeanette the Metal Meeple, and the best art has to go to Ashes by Plaid Hat Games, even if it was just for the box cover. That is simply amazing. One of the best box covers, I think. It has tons and tons of art in this game, and everything's very vibrant and nice looking. It's just really, really good. Anyway, till next time, keep on rocking and rolling dice.
Greg Schlosser here, talking about the game that has the best artwork in 2015. Boy, talk about a category that is really a matter of personal preference, because some people love modern art. I myself can't stand it. Others love classical art. Others do not prefer that. Same kind of thing relates to games. But I'll have to give the nod to the fantastic artwork in Elysium, which really does a tremendous job depicting the ancient Greek gods and other characters in mythology. So the best artwork is in Elysium.
One of the disadvantages to going last in this particular show is I feel like a lot of people have already said what I'm going to say. My pick is also Time Stories.
Whoa, me too!
Yay! We're tag teaming on this one. People mentioned the panorama. Every time you enter a location in Time Stories, you draw a certain number of cards, like 4, sometimes 6, even more than that, and it creates this panorama that you're presented with. It's like you just walked into this room and you're looking at the different things, and some things are closer to you, sort of drawing you in. Some things are in a corner, and maybe, I don't know if the designers are expecting you to go to the closer things first. Sometimes I'm like, well, no, this is farther away. I need to go over here. Maybe there's something more important in that corner over there. And then you read the card, you flip it over. There's subtle changes in the art. A guy raises his eyebrow at you, and you're like, oh, what's going on over here? Really fantastic way to bring you into the story. And to counterpoint that, the design of the board itself is very stark. Because it's designed to be a module game, it's very utilitarian. It does what it needs to do without getting in the way of the world that you are seeing in that deck of cards for the module. Really neat way to bring art and bring you into the game.
It's so unusual because I look over the games that people picked, and in 5 years ago, any one of these games would have won hands down. Ashes.
Ashes is really I also wanted to mention that that's fantastic art that someone said that it just pops off the page, off the cards and off the box, and that absolutely does that. It really, the way they did colors and the realism, it's the same artist that did Dead of Winter, and I think they've come to a really nice collaboration, them and Plaid Hat.
Yeah.
Stellar stuff.
Tides of Time has beautiful cards on it. Then there's, Grizzled has like a different style to it, but looks good. But I'm picking Time Stories, and also because I played both of the missions for Time Stories, and they had different kinds of art, and they're both really good. But man, that first one, Asylum, you turn those cards over, and it's like, woo, the theme just comes at you through the art. Pretty strong.
Nice.
Love the art.
The worst of the worst. The bottom of the pile. It's time for the worst games of 2015.
Luke Hector here, and rant time. Seriously? Exploding kittens? This is the thing that you were willing to give millions of pounds to in order to fund on Kickstarter? Why? The game is horrendous. It comes in a stupid little box with a little cat noise every time you open it that gets on your nerves. This was just capitalizing on whatever webcomic it was based on. The humor is lost to anybody apart from Cards Against Humanity fans. Seriously, why was this even made? Worst game, Exploding Kittens.
Hello, my friends. It's the Game Boy Geek here. Worst game for me was Game of Crowns. This is supposed to be sort of a negotiation game where you're trying to set, collect, and get cards from other people. It had this attacking mechanism which made no sense because nobody had anything real to negotiate to be on your side for. There was just a lot of mechanics that made no sense in this game, unfortunately.
It's the Four Corners here. My worst game has to be Bottle Cap Vikings. I tend to do research before buying and playing games, so I have not played too many bad games this year. But this was a freebie from TMG when I kickstarted Orleans. Honestly, I would have been just as happy if I didn't receive this game.
Hi folks, it's Niels again. Hi there, worst game 2015. Another clone of Warriors, another Dice Masters game. It's luck multiplied with luck, multiplied with more luck. This is just boring and just worst.
So Eric, do you have a worst game?
I really don't. I like your disappointments. I kind of bury those and don't really think of them and just don't play them. How about you, though?
It is rare that a game not only disappoints me, but also enrages me, and that's Flip City. And I think I ranted about it on the show. I saw people playing it at Board Game Geek, at the Dallas Games Marathon, and I was like, oh, let me know what you think about that. Trying not to just wander up and say, worst game ever. So Flip City, don't play it, burn it, bury it, discard it. I'm Donald.
And I'm Eric from Onboard Games.
This is the Out of Game podcast, and by far the worst game of 2015 was Exploding Kittens.
Meow.
Horrible.
Tony here. Marty didn't want to desecrate his name by saying what his worst game was, but I'm going to put it out there. For me, Exploding Kittens. I cannot unplay this game in my mind. Really? It got that much money? Oh my gosh.
Hey now, this is Jamie from the Secret Cabal, and the worst game of 2015 was really difficult to pick because every game is good from this year. So I gotta get nitpicky here. Champions of Midgard is probably the worst, and it's not even because it's not fun, because it is fun. I've played it, I like it, but really, for a Euro game, I gotta have some control over what's going on, and the dice rolls are just so random and swingy. Normally, I'm okay with that, but in a Euro game, I'm not into that. So, Champions of Midgard, nitpicking-wise, is the worst one of the year.
Hello, it's Sarkos again. Worst game of 2015. Well, I got Harbor from Kickstarter in February, so I'm guessing that is a 2015 release. That game is very blah. You gain one value and you remove one value. You gain two values and you remove two different values. It just move one thing forward and one other thing back. Back and forth like this through the entire game. It's just blah.
Hi, this is Tom Kendrick, and my worst game of 2015 was probably Auctions, with an ORC. I played a demo with this at the UK Games Expo. You spend the first half of the game building up your best orc fighter by doing some worker placement with dice. Then the second half involves everyone fighting two at a time in a central arena, throwing dice that can actually knock each other out. Some good ideas, but the terrible end game makes it the worst game I played that came out in 2015.
Hey everyone, this is Tim Jeanette, the Metal Meeple, and the worst game for me this year was Chip Up by Mindware. Same people that brought you Quirkle. So not a huge release, probably as most people are talking about, but worth mentioning. It had terrible packaging coming in a tube. The components, the chips look okay, but they just didn't function well and they fell over. And it's very much just a roll and do move, pretty much like LCR. So, anyway, till next time, keep on rocking and rolling dice.
Oh, man. Okay.
Oh, get over this, because this is one of the categories we get the fewest entries for.
I know people don't want to they don't want to be mean, although I do think it's hilarious that we got so many exploding kittens. My engineer likes this game, and she was like, she is not a gamer. This is like the only game she played all year, and Exploding Kitten, she's like, this is a great game. I loved it. And I was like, I need to play you the worst segment for this episode.
You're mean, Eric. You're meaner than me.
So my pick, I talked about this on the show and just got all riled up. This is one of the few games I just could not finish, and that's Renaissance Wars, a game that looks like it's going to be a resource management, a historical, solid, in-depth game, but it's really a variant of Pinochle. With trick-taking and set collection that lasts about 4 times what it says it will on the box, and just painful game that does not live up to the components and production that are in that box. I was sorely disappointed, and it drove me nuts, and I could not finish Renaissance Wars.
Yeah, there's a lot of good games, bad games people mention here, like Game of Crowns. Nils is crazy with Dice Masters. I'm noticing that Nils is crazy with a lot of his choices here.
Yeah.
And I already emailed Jamie, and I said, I get that you don't like Champions of Midgard. That's fine. But if that's the worst game you played all year, then you're doing pretty good.
Yes. He did say that, he had to sort of nitpick a little bit on this one.
I think he's too positive. I'm sorry. But if that's your worst game, come on now. But anyway. For me, there's a whole pile I could have picked. I mean, Game of Crowns is pretty close. It really was pretty bad. I did not play Exploding Kittens, so I don't know, or Renaissance Wars. But I did play Truth's Too Terrible. And I love the name. Truth's Too Terrible.
You got to watch out, though, putting terrible in the name.
That's true. In fact, I think I did that for the review. I think I covered up the words truths and two. But yeah, it was just basically like a deduction game where you're going around and trying to find out this hidden kind of Cthulhu-esque thing. Oh, this is a great theme and everything, and you basically just randomly pick stuff to see who wins. Very bad. Oh well, it's a bad card game. What do you do?
Not every game needs a board. Here are our best card games from 2015.
Hello, my friends. It's the Game Boy Geek here. Best card game for me is Baseball Highlights 2045. Whether you like baseball or not, you need to check this game out. The mechanics are amazing. It's unbelievably balanced. It's fun to build your team and send people to the minors. And again, even if you don't like baseball, this game has some awesome mechanisms to it. And if you like baseball, wow, the names are really going to draw you in as well. Playing World Series is fun. Oh man, this is an unbelievable game. I don't even like deck builders, but I love this game.
Hey chaps, have you ever wanted to relive those Space Invader days? Well, the game that encapsulated that for me is Starfighter, a light card game where you're making a fleet of spaceships to attack your opponent. You place out these cards in a kind of stacking fashion. Each card will cover up half of the other card, and if it's revealed when that ship gets destroyed, you will reveal a power which will activate and maybe do something really cool for you. So Barry's best card game is Starfighter.
It's the Four Corners here. My best card game of the year is Elysium. I love all the different decks and the styles of play, and I love being able to combine the different decks to get a completely different game.
Hey guys, this is Sean, and Codenames is the best card game of the year for me. What Vladichovatl does with a 5x5 grid of words blows my mind. Now, it takes a brilliant mind to do so much with so little and keep you wanting to play again and again. It makes for a great party game or a tense 2-on-2 battle. If you haven't played it yet, go out there and get your hands on a copy of Codenames, my card game of the year.
Chris here with the best card game in 2015. Now, this card game has flown beneath the radar a little bit. It's called Nevermore. Now, this game has some outstanding mechanics in such a small card game. You're drafting, you're playing special powers, and if you get knocked out of this game, you're not done. You become the Raven, and you get to attack the other players with an opportunity to come back into the game as human and win the game. This is a great game, and everyone should be playing Nevermore.
Hey, Chris Renshaw here again, and the best card game of 2015, of course, is Ashes Rise of the Phoenix board. It's an LCG where you can throw dice. How awesome is that? It tackles some of the resource management problems that you have in other games by allowing you to roll, and you can use the cards to re-roll your dice so that you're not always like, oh, I don't have enough mana because I didn't draw the right resource card or whatever. But best card game, Ashes, Rise of the Phoenixborn.
This is Alex from the Dukes of Dice podcast, and for me, best card game of the year is a split. Depends on how you define card game. If you count baseball highlights as a card game, it's that. If not, it is Motainai. Sean, what's yours?
For me, it's hands down Motainai. We've played this, or at least I've played this 150 times. I love this game. Carl Chudik, it's the successor to Glory to Rome. So elegant, so beautiful. This game is amazing. Motainai.
Hi, Eric Teo here, and the best card game for 2015 for me is Codenames. Now, if you listen, I'm going to repeat Codenames quite a few times in this end of year show because it fits in a lot of different categories. So for a card game, it is a card game. It's entirely cards. There is just two different sizes of cards, but it's still all cards. And it's fun. It's easy to play. It is a great game. It requires a lot of thinking, and there's a lot of replayability. There's a lot of cards in the box. So I can't say enough good things about Codenames. So I will kind of stop here, and you probably heard the hype already. So my best card game for 2015 is Codenames.
Hey, it's Dan. The best card game of 2015 is Bottom of the Ninth by Daryl Lauder and Mike Mullins and Dice Hate Me Games. Gotta say, this game is so much fun. You could teach it in about 5 minutes. Anybody that does play this game will want to play it again and again. It's got so much replayability that comes with a ton of different pitchers, ton of different batters, and even has some little expansion promo things from Sentinels of the Multiverse in there, which makes the game a ton of fun. Gotta love this game. You gotta check it out. Bottom of the Ninth by Dice Hate Me and Greater Than Games.
Jeff here, and I didn't play a huge number of card games this year, but of the ones I played, The Grizzled was by far the best. In this game, you are playing a group of soldiers in World War I just trying to keep your morale up and survive the war. It's a really unique take on a co-op, and the artwork is fantastic, made especially poignant by the connection with the Charlie Hebdo shootings. So definitely check out The Grizzled if you have not yet had an opportunity to.
This is Jason Guitarski, and my pick for best card game of 2015 is Flip City from Tasty Minstrel Games. This game is a small pressure luck style deck builder that kind of fits that mold of micro games. Designers are still exploring the space of what can we do with minimal components, and this is a cool game. You play your cards, you try to build your city to get a certain amount of points or play a certain amount of cards in one turn. You're really kind of trying to hone that engine and hone your deck, upgrade your cards. Really cute art. That's my pick for 2015 best card game.
Dicey Chic here. Arboretum is a clever card game where players collect trees of certain colors with the goal of creating ascending numbered paths in order to score points. The twist is that they can't score unless they have the highest sum of the colors they want to score in their hand at the end of the game.
Niels is back. Psst. The best card game 2015 for me is Evolution und Evolution Flight This is a great card game. This has a whole feeling of a Euro game, but still a card game.
This is Ryan from Out of Game, and the best card game of the year for me was Matainai by Carl Chuddik. So this was supposed to be kind of a re-implementation of Glory to Rome, which is a really popular game of his. And there were some not so great reviews of it, but when I played it, I had a blast. This guy does amazing card games. This one is no exception. Matainai.
Marty and Tony here. Best card game. Tony and I love our LCG type games, and Plaid Hat has done it with Ashes. Tony, I love this game with the dice mechanic and the resource management and the art. Oh, awesome.
I know. Just go ahead, sign me up for the renewing the packs as they come in next year in 2016. Ashes, great game.
Hey now, this is Jamie from the Secret Cabal, and the best card game from 2015 is The Grizzled. The Grizzled has beautiful artwork, it has a great theme, and they really pulled together a fantastic wartime cooperative game that, even though it has a heavy style theme, it doesn't feel heavy when you're playing it. The mechanics all work so perfectly together. I love The Grizzled. It's such an excellently designed and elegant card game.
Hi, Suzanne here, and card games are some of my favorite games around, so it was tough to kind of narrow it down, but ultimately I chose Arboretum for my card game of the year. Beautiful art, simple mechanics, and brain burner level choices. This deck of cards packs quite the punch.
Hello, it's Takos here. I didn't really play many new card games this year, but one I did play was Seven Wonders: The Duel. Seven Wonders itself does not work at all for 2 players, but this game really makes everything work great. The cards are a bit small, but it makes it more portable, and the game itself is totally worth it. So, Seven Wonders: Duel.
Hi, this is Tom Kendrick, and my favourite card game of 2015 was A Game of Thrones, the card game, 2nd edition. Having never played the 1st edition, I went in with very little bias, and I was extremely impressed. Game of Thrones offers something new to the Fantasy Flight LCG line with its multiplayer option, and the starter box containing 8 distinct factions is fantastic value for money. It stands by itself far better than some of their previous LCG starters.
Hi, this is Trent Howell, and my vote for best card game goes to Timeline Challenge. We've enjoyed playing the different versions of Timeline over the years, but with Timeline Challenge, there's a variety of ways to use those cards in different type of mini challenges. I don't know if we'll ever play the original way again. Best card game? Timeline Challenge.
Hey, the Broken Meeple here, and best card game was not a difficult one at all. I've given this to Seven Wonders Duel, taking what we liked about Seven Wonders and putting it into a 2-player card game, which is 100 times better than the variant that you got in the main game. Tactical decisions throughout, multiple endgame conditions, and good replayability. If you like Seven Wonders in general, but wanted to play this as a 2-player, check this out.
Hey everyone, this is Tim Jeanette the Metal Meeple, and the best card game for me goes to Vault Wars by Floodgate Games. I just really like how it took the interpreted Storage Wars, the reality TV show, into a card game in a fantasy realm. It has a lot of humor to it. And I just like the way that bidding works because everybody knows different amounts of information, and you can come into the bidding, you can go out of the bidding at any time. It's just really, really fun. Anyway, till next time, keep on rocking and rolling dice.
There were a lot of neat card games, and I had trouble picking my top one for this one. So I'm picking one that people didn't already mention, and that's Dead Drop. This one is from Crash Games, and it takes the microgame concept that we've been seeing, that whole arc of similar games since Love Letter. But this one gives the deduction element of Love Letter, where you're playing the guard cards, trying to figure out what other people have in their hands, and that's the whole game, trying to figure out what people have in their hands. And then once you know what you're trying to figure out the identity of one particular card in the center. But even if you figure that out, you still have to manipulate your hand to get 2 cards that add up to the card that you know is in the center of the board. And that's a neat challenge. Puzzly, deduction, but in a real quick play time with some cute art, really solid game, Dead Drop.
I like the category of card game, but the problem with card game is that it's very broad, right? Like, so Dan mentioned Baseball Highlights 2045. And sure, that's technically a card game, although you move runners around bases and stuff. So I never count those as card games in my head. I'm not saying other people chose poorly.
Right.
For me, a card game comes in a small box, and it's a deck of cards or so that you play with and do something with.
Right. Doesn't Ashes have a ton of dice?
Yeah, but I mean, I could... Again, I'm not saying anyone's choices here are wrong.
I am.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
I'm saucy. Too much eggnog.
Yeah. But I would say here, Matcha. Did you play Matcha?
I just played it at BGG Con.
Did you like it?
I enjoyed it. I don't know if it's my top game. It's an interesting bluffing it's a bluffing game.
It's a really cool back and forth. The theme is like this, you're basically putting a tea set together.
Yeah.
But you're like doing it. I almost feel like two people silently, politely looking at each other as they try to outwit each other. But I found it very fun. I want to play it over and over again just to try to outthink the other person. I had a lot of fun with it. So anyway, my best card game is Matcha. And now for the most boring part of our show.
It's party time. Here are the best party games from 2015.
Hey chaps, have you ever wanted to harvest with your finger? Or steal stuff with your finger? Well, you can do in Crossings, a game by Moonster Games. It's easy to learn in Teach, and it plays very quickly, and it plays nicely with 6 players. You're stealing and taking stuff and getting as many points as you can, and it is a hoot. And that's why Crossings is Barry's best party game of 2015.
Hello, my friends. It's the Game Boy Geek here. Best party game, probably like everyone else, I'm picking Codenames. It's like Password on steroids. I've used it in many different situations with gamers and non-gamers. Most people understand Password, and then this is that with a twist. Everyone that I play this with loves this game. In any other year, there are a couple other really good ones like Wink and Timeline Challenge, but in this year, no one's taken down Codenames.
It's the Four Corners here. Best party game of 2015, Codenames, hands down. First time we played it, we kept going back to it and play it again, which is always a good sign for a game. It's now one of my go-to party games I own, and one I would recommend to anybody looking to purchase a new party game.
This is Anthony, and my favorite party game of 2015 was Codenames from Vlaada Chvátil. Codenames is unique in so many ways and yet so comfortable and familiar. I've played this game at least a dozen, maybe more times, and it's always easy and quick to teach people. As long as the person giving the clues can get through it before that timer runs out, there is so much fun to be had here, and the game that comes out of the box with the number of cards that are there is almost infinite. Codenames is a fantastic party game. It's going to be on my shelf for a while.
Hey, this is Patrick. This is Jeremy.
And this is Rob. Our favorite party game in 2015 has to be Codenames! 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 Codenames!
This is Brian Counter. The best party game is Codenames. On paper, it's multiplayer Password with a thin veneer of spydom, but when you play, and even in bigger groups with 2 teams, something emerges that you wouldn't see off of the rulebook. It's a lot of fun, and I always love games that you can play with both family and heavy Euro crowds. You can play with larger groups in a party setting, and this can be a blast.
Chris Renshaw here again, and the best party game of 2015. I'm going to jump on the bandwagon here and just say Codenames. It's become the biggest hit in my groups that I play with. I always end up breaking it out. It's really simple to teach, and a lot of people really like it and really get into it and want to end up playing it the whole night. It's great with any player limit, basically, and it goes. I haven't seen anyone who dislikes the game at all. So definitely best party game has to be Codenames.
This is Alex from the Dukes of Dice podcast, and for best party game, if you're considering the US release, it's Mysterium for me. Plays well with a wide group of players, with big groups of players, lot of engagement, lot of fun. That is Mysterium.
This is Sean, and for me, best party game is Deception, Murder in Hong Kong. Codenames is a very close second, but this game just came out recently and just blew me away. I love this game.
Hey, this is Eric Teo. Best party game for 2015 is Codenames, and I think this might be the last time I'll mention Codenames. If this is in a different order on the end of year show, then this will be the first time or second time you hear about me talking about Codenames. Anyway, Codenames is a very good party game. It's easy to teach people, easy to get them in. Players who have never played before will learn it quick in a snap, and they will be able to compete with people who are good gamers as well. It doesn't require prior gaming knowledge, so it is an easy game to bring out, and it's just words, and it's not intimidating to people. Well, except maybe if English is not their first language. But I would say that there are people I know who have actually translated into different languages to play with their friends and family. So my best party game for 2015 is Codenames.
Hello, Dan Hughes here. Now, this is a difficult question because there's 2 games that are worthy of the title of Best Party Game of 2015. It's a toss-up between Codenames and Spyfall. However, for me, one of these stands out as being much more accessible than the other. So this year, I'm going to have to give it to Codenames. A wonderful game and an awful lot of fun.
Hey, it's Dan. If you had asked me about 6 months ago what the party game of the year was, it would easily have been Spyfall. But since then, Codenames came out and just took the world by storm, and it really lived up to the hype. And it just edged out Spyfall for party game of the year. Codenames can be played by any amount of people, any type of gamer, new, old, heavy, or light gamer. Codenames is just simply a great party game. My party game of the year, Codenames for 2015.
Jeff here, and the go-to party game for this year, as I'm sure for many others, for us has been Codenames from Vlada Shvatel and CGE. This is a really very easy to explain game, and one of the nice things about it as a party game is you can just set it up and have a couple of people start to play, and then people can drift over and join up without really knowing what's going on. I haven't seen something work that well in that fashion since Wits and Wagers.
This is Jason Kotarski, and my pick for Best Party Game of 2015 is a no-brainer. This is the game that hit me harder than any other game this year for its cleverness and quickness and how just wonderful it was with every gamer, every family member I played it with, and that game is Codenames.
Dicey Chic here. Codenames is an interesting and fun party game. Although it hasn't quite replaced Time's Up as my number one, it sure gives it a run for its money. The game is all about finding the best one-word clue for as many words of your team's color in the word grid as possible. Teammates then try to guess their colored word by pointing to them in the grid while avoiding the other team's words and the assassin's word.
Hi folks, my name is Niels and welcome back. The best party game of 2015 for me is, what a surprise, Codenames by Czech Games Edition. The hop-on, hop-off party game for me of 2015.
Hi, I'm Donald.
And I'm Eric.
From Onboard Games. And I think for our best party game, I'm going to say the thing that probably half the other people who gave answers are going to say, and I'm going to go with Codenames.
Yep, we're jumping on the train. We're following everybody. Codenames was definitely the best party game of the year.
This is Ryan from Out of Game, and the best party game of the year for me by a mile was Codenames. How about you, Chris?
This is Chris from Out of Game, and I agree, Codenames, best party game of the year.
This is Tim from Out of Game. I agree. Codenames definitely was that surprise. Universal game. Anyone can play it, even if they're not a gamer. Great game.
If you don't have this game yet and you can get it, go buy it. Codenames.
Codenames.
Marty and Tony here. Best party game comes from somebody you wouldn't even think would do a party game, and Vlada Shvatel. He gave us Codenames. What a unique experience, but it is so much fun. Easy to teach, easy to play, and everybody tends to enjoy it.
Oh, yeah. I love playing this. I can't wait to get this out at New Year's. It's going to replace our annual party game, and, well, I'm sure it'll hang around to next New Year's in 2017.
Hey, now, this is Jamie from the Secret Cabal, and the best party game of the year is probably on everybody else's list. It is Codenames from Vlada Shvatel. Every single party that I have ever since getting this game, there's a table filled with like 12, 15 people playing this game, even though you're only supposed to play with like 8 or something. Everybody's howling with laughter. They're trash talking each other. They're having such a great time with this. Everything about it is just perfect for a party environment. It's so great. Codenames.
Hello, it's Douglas again. Best party game? There's no doubt in my mind. It's Codenames. Codenames brings a lot of people together. You can play it 2 teams and have a lot of people as you want on each team. You just have to figure out what the spy master is thinking and how to use the clues you're given. I think Codenames might be a contender for the game of the year as well.
This is Trent Howell, and my vote for best party game goes to Codenames. I think many others will say the same thing because this is an easy game to introduce to anybody, and the great thing that makes it good for a party is any number of people can play, and others can join in along the way and figure it out pretty quickly and just jump on a team and get playing right away. It's a fun game that we'll play over and over. Best party game? Codenames.
Hello, the Broken Meeple here, and for Best Party Game, it's not even a game that I particularly like that much, but I have to give this one props for blowing the board game industry completely out of the water with its simple yet innovative premise, and that is Codenames. Really easy rules. In fact, it's a design that I can't even believe I didn't even think of it. It's that simple. But it just works, and the amount of people I see playing this is ridiculous. There weren't that many good party games this year, and this isn't exactly my favourite of all time, but props, this one is ingenious.
Hey everyone, this is Tim Jeanette the Metal Meeple, and for me the best party game has to go to Mafia de Cuba. Now, it did have strong competition, but I went with it because of the social aspect of this game. I mean, you can get role-playing if you really wanted to. Everybody's getting in this, like, interesting little character and everything, at least with the people we play with. It's just a really, really fun time. Everybody's involved, and it's a fresh take on this genre of games. But anyway, until next time, keep on rocking and rolling dice.
Well, it's a good thing Tim and Barry were here.
Yes, just to add some extra flavor.
Did that get boring, everybody?
It's especially good that everyone had to sort of explain it. Anyway, I also picked Codenames. It really was the game that worked with so many groups of people. I was enamored with it from the moment I played it, and the final production. I mean, we saw early prototypes. I loved it. I saw another version of the prototype and loved it. Saw the final production, loved it. Showed it to everyone I knew, and they loved it. How can you go wrong? It's a really fantastic game. And I had a runner-up, but Tom has the same runner-up.
Yeah, same thing for me. Codenames is good, and in fact, it's gonna be a very anticlimactic Dice Tower Awards ceremony when we get the party game.
Yeah, it is,
because I cannot imagine any other game winning. But I love Codenames a lot for all the same reasons Eric said. I think it's super fun. I played. I was like, wow, this is great. But I also, and this is kind of a different category, I love Spit It Out.
Yeah,
where you have to shout out wrong answers to some questions, and that's hard to do.
Well, I mean,
like what animal goes moo? And I'm like, gorilla.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking cow,
Right,
cow.
Well, these are actually sort of opposite ends of the spectrum, because if there's any criticism of Codenames, and I have heard it before, it's that it's a very cerebral game. There's a lot of that game where you're staring at the board trying to come up with a clue. And some people don't like that kind of party game, but Spit It Out is not that kind of game. You've got the time pressure, you've got the raucousness. It's a quick thinking, whereas Codenames is a much more deliberate, precise game, and I like them both.
The Dice Tower is proud to grow the board game hobby, and what better way than starting with our children? Here are the best kids games from 2015.
Hello, my friends. It's the Game Boy Geek here. Best children's game for me is Master Fox. Essentially, you wear these masks over your face, everyone does, that looks like a fox. They're hilarious just to look at people playing this. And you're putting your hand in this board and you're trying to get out wooden meeples of different animals, of specific animals. You're trying to draw that round and you're putting them in your hand, and everyone's doing it at the same time, so your hands are hitting, and you take them out and there's some special abilities and such. It is a blast to play. And it's a blast to watch.
Hey chaps, Barry's best children's game is a game based on a film and a book. The Little Prince Rising to the Stars is an exquisite game. It's a simple race game where you're pushing your plane forward by playing cards. But it's not as simple as that. You can actually steal cards from other players, and you can get points from going past clouds, and there are a little puzzle element in there as well. There's enough there to keep even us adults entertained.
This is Anthony, and my favorite children's game from 2015 is Pharaoh's Gulo Gulo. Haba managed to re-implement the original Gulo Gulo in a fun and exciting way with beautiful artwork and a really cool, stressful, engaging mechanic that really gets both me and the kids involved. This is a fantastic game. It's one that keeps hitting the table, and I know that my kids are going to continue to enjoy it even as they get older because of that dexterity element.
Jeff here, and I don't get to play that many children's games, but one that I made sure to pick up for my niece and nephew is Lupin Chewie from Hasbro, the Lupin Louie with the Star Wars theme on it. This game is still a tremendous amount of fun, and we played it all through Thanksgiving and just had a blast with it. So, as always, highly recommended.
This is Jason Guitarski, and my pick for children's game of 2015 is Lupin Chewie. And I love it because it's a kid's game that everybody wants to play. I play it with my 3-year-old. I play it with my 6-year-old. I play it with my in-laws. It is so much fun in a 2-minute game that you're just going to play it over and over again. And that's just what I have. This is the game that I played more than any other game in my collection. That's Lupin Chewie.
Dicey Chic here. For the best children's game, I chose Lupin Chewie. This is a 3-player version of Lupin Louie, but with Chewbacca and the Millennium Falcon flying around and hitting stormtroopers. Yeah, I had to have it.
Friends, it's again Niels. Best kids game 2015, Spinderella. Please take a look at this outstanding mechanism. Did you saw that? When you move that here, it goes up and down. How cool is that? Spinderella, Best Kids Game 2015.
Hey, it's Dan. The best kids game this year is Dr. Eureka by Blue Orange. Hope I don't get scolded since it's only out in Europe right now, but I got to play it this year and it's great. You take these test tubes which have different color balls in them and having to move them around using only those test tubes and using it to get the layout which is on the card for those balls. It's great fun for the kids because it gets them thinking, it gets them using their manual dexterity as well. And well, of course, it's just plain fun. Check out Dr. Eureka, my best kids game of 2015.
Jonathan from the Snakes Cast. Best kids game of 2015? Push a Monster. One of the things I've learned working at Snakes and Lattes is never to underestimate how much fun grown-ups can have playing kid games, and Push a Monster is definitely a great example of that. It's got a clever scoring system where you just line up the monsters, and whoever's got the longest line wins, so you don't have to worry about counting points. In the meanwhile, it's got this great kids game dexterity mechanic where you're pushing monsters onto a table, trying not to knock other ones off. It's got great artwork, it's beautiful, terrific game.
This is Trent Howell. My vote for the best children's game goes to The Little Prince Rising to the Stars. It's a fun little game for kids to play and learn some hand management skills, because the cards you start out with aren't enough to get you to the end of the game, so you've got to do a little bit of figuring out to move your plane along the different clouds and collect points, or I should say collect stars. Best children's game, The Little Prince Rising to the Stars.
Ah, the kid stuff. This was a tricky one for me. I don't know if there were few games that were just absolutely stellar. So I had to pick from the few that I had played with the kids that were good, solid games.
Really?
This was a harder one for me to pick, like an absolutely amazing one. The one I picked is Master Fox, which is a very nice game. It's a not really a dexterity game. It's a precision texture matching game. You have a blindfold, neat blindfolds too, these big fox faces, and you're trying to reach into the center, into the box, and pick out specific things. And the meeples, or the wooden pieces, for lack of a better word, are similar enough to each other. So you may be looking for the cow piece, but the cow is just slightly thicker and has some of the same structures as the horse piece. And so if you're not very precise in what you're feeling, you will easily pick up the wrong thing. And I think that's an interesting challenge. Neat game.
So Eric's game was Master Fox. Mine is Outfoxed.
Yeah.
Outfoxed is a cooperative deduction game for kids. I love this. My kids, I love the fact that my kids will come in, my two youngest, they're 6 and 7, and they'll say, hey, we want to play a game. I'm like, sure, grab a game. So they've been grabbing like boring Haba games, and I like Haba games, but I mean they're grabbing like the really, the simple ones,
the very basic ones, yes.
But they're nowadays they're grabbing Outfoxed, and in Outfoxed you have to roll dice 3 times and get all the same symbols. You have to stick cards into a reader and find and eliminate different pieces of clothing that the fox is wearing to figure out which of the available suspects is the fox. I love that. They're doing it on their own, and it's great. They get along. They're having a good time. They're trying to find a fox, and it's very teachable and fun. Great game. This was one of several good games. I also liked Looping Chewy for silly fun.
Right, yeah.
And there was other games. Push a Monster that Jonathan mentioned was also a fun one. There's several great kids games that came out. But let's move on.
Gaming brings families together, usually anyway. Meanwhile, here are the best 2015 games for families.
Hey chaps, best family game for 2015 for me is a really, really tough one. With its exquisite components and Candy Crush mechanics, this game just goes down well with every family. Yes, it's Potion Explosion by Horrible Games. The game looks and plays simply enough, but there is enough depth in there for us real big gamers. It is this generation's Connect 4. But Barry didn't really say that, okay?
Hello, my friends. It's the Game Boy Geek here. Best family game for me is called Looney Quest. And this is sort of a sequel to Doodle Quest, which was out in the United States. Looney Quest you have to import from Europe since it's not distributed here. And it's basically a game where you're putting these transparent sheets down and you're trying to draw under a timer, and everyone's drawing, trying to get around objects. And then when you're done, you put the sheet on the actual game board to see how well you did and how much you missed. It is a ton of fun.
It's the Four Corners here. For my family, it has to be either Flick 'em Up or Pingo Pingo. Flick 'em Up is a great dexterity game with a fantastic theme. Pingo Pingo, a game that involves picking up a gun and shooting penguin standees, can be made even more frantic and hilarious by placing the standees throughout the floor. This makes all the family members run around the house trying to shoot or touch the standees. If I had to pick between the two, I think Flick 'em Up would get the edge, as I feel it has a longer life due to the different scenarios.
This is Anthony, and my best family game for 2015 is Flick 'em Up from Pretzel Games. Flick 'em Up is this fantastic dexterity game that really brings a lot of fun, creative energy to the table that really anybody can play. I've had luck getting almost anybody who I've tried to the table to play this game, because once you flick those bullets around and you start trying to move your cowboy and take everybody else out, it's addictive, and there's so much in this game, plus the expansion. How can you go wrong with Flick 'em Up?
Hey everyone, it's the Board Game Point of View, and our best family game of 2015 is Pingo Pingo by Yellow.
Although you might want to show the game to your South American friends before you tell them about it.
We saw Tom at the Origins Game Fair, and we mentioned this game, and he said Pingo Pingo actually means something a little bit rude. We're not quite sure what that is. We didn't ask.
Pingo Pingo. We just said it again.
Hey, this is Patrick, and my favorite family game is actually Stockpile by Navu Games. Whoever thought a stock trading game would be a great family game, but this one is. It's easy to learn, it has really cool mechanics, and my family adores it. I really highly recommend this game to anybody looking for a game that you can get into and love with your family. So my favorite family game, Stockpile.
This is Sean from the Dukes of Dice, and for me, the best family game of the year was Cacao. Now, I wouldn't call this necessarily a gamer's game, but it's easy enough to teach. There's some nice tile placement, kind of a worker placement aspect. Cacao, you should check it out.
And this is Alex. My top family game of the year, best treehouse ever, has that great theme that's going to lure folks in, but is simple enough to teach and still has the depth to make it an engaging, enjoyable experience.
Great little drafting game.
Hey, Eric Dio here, and the best family game for 2015 for me is Codenames. I feel that it's a very good family game because, like, my classmate even borrowed my copy of Codenames to play the family. He felt that it is easy to teach people, easy to bring people who have never played board games before and come and play the game together. They won't feel that they are left out. If they won't feel that they are disadvantaged if someone is better than them at playing games, because Codenames is great for people of different ages to come together and play the game. So much so that I even set up a tournament where people who have never played before just came in, learned the game on the spot, and can compete in the game. So that's my best family board game for 2015 is Codenames.
Hey, it's Dan. The best family game of 2015 is New York 1901 by Blue Orange Games. Now, a lot of people compare this game to a newer Ticket to Ride staple as one of these new classics for people to learn. And there's a reason for it, because the game really is easy to pick up and is a great family game. It's not too hard, not too easy, but it is a ton of fun. Check it out and buy it. New York 1901, my best family game of 2015.
Greg Schlosser here with my best family game of 2015. Now, the definition of a family game certainly varies from family to family. I know some families that will play complex, heavy games and no problem at all. Others that if you play something too complex, the children won't be able to play. But I consider the best one for 2015 to be Isle of Skye by designers Andreas Pelikan and Alexander Pfister, who brought us the game of the year, Broom Service. Indeed, I think this is a much better game than Broom Service and deserving of the family game of the year.
Dicey Chic here with my best family game. Favor the Pharaoh is not only a retheming of To Court the King, but it also has a lot of improvements over the original. I liked To Court the King, but I love Favor the Pharaoh.
My name is Niels, and we are talking about the best family game 2015, Castles of Mad King Ludwig, and there's a brand new expansion, Secrets, out there on the market. My family game of 2015.
Tony Marty here. Best family game you cannot miss with Codenames. Everybody loves this in my family. They all either want to guess the clues or give the clues, but everybody's at the table for code names.
Oh, definitely. At the holidays that we had with our families, everybody really enjoyed the game. It's very easy to learn. It's fun to play. Big hit around the table.
Hey now, this is Jamie from the Secret Cabal, and the best family game of the year is New York 1901. This is such a well-designed game for me and for families. Ticket to Ride is a great game. I like it and everything, but this one I think blows it away. I have so much more fun playing this style of game. It gives me that feeling of construction. It gives me great period style artwork. It's just a great family game that you can play it kind of whimsically, or you can go deep into the strategy. New York 1901, excellent.
Jonathan from the Snakes Cast, best family game of the year for 2015, definitely Flick 'em Up. It's one of those games that is literally fun for the whole family. Everybody can enjoy knocking things over, whether they're a kid or a grown-up. Everybody can enjoy being part of a team and trying to defeat the other team. Classic family dynamics right there. And it's light enough and silly enough that it won't cause the kind of hurt feelings that can ruin a family game night. Great choice for any family.
Hi, Suzanne here, and my pick for family game is Best Treehouse Ever. This lightweight drafting game has a great theme and delightful art with just enough zing in the room placement rules, making it fun for a wide range of ages and great for families of gamers and non-gamers alike.
This is Trent Howell, and my vote for Best Family Game goes to New York 1901. It's a fun area control type game with players vying for control of areas within New York City. What's great is that you've got Tetris-type pieces that you're trying to fit in the right spots and block other people out of other areas, and you've got to keep your eye on the bonuses all the time. There's plenty to think about for this nice light game. Good family game. New York 1901.
Hi, Luke Hector here, and for family games, I want something that looks good, I want something that's light and funny, and also easy rules to comprehend. So I'm giving Celestia this spot. Celestia is my go-to choice for a push-your-luck game, looking great on the table with its gorgeous artwork, being really simple to understand, and just generally being a push-your-luck game about whether you trust your opposing family member to sail your ship across the skies. It's a great little family game, check it out.
Hey everyone, this is Tim Jeanette the Metal Meeple, and for me the best family game goes to Flick 'em Up. It's just a fun little quirky Wild West game. When you get dexterity involved, any kind of fun little things can happen. People flick too hard, flick too soft, and things go everywhere. It's just really fun. You can have mom and daughter versus dad and son. It's just really, really great, and it's light, and it's not to be taken too seriously. But anyway, till next time, keep on rocking and rolling dice.
If I really have to go with the literal family game that has been played the most, that's going to be Pandemic Legacy. But that is a very specific definition of family, just my wife and eldest son that have been playing that. Something that's had a little bit broader appeal with more of the family, my sister and my sister-in-law and my brother. Tiny Epic Galaxies. Dice rolling game about conquering different planets, and easy to explain, but has some depth to it. It's worked for lots of different folks, and also my son has enjoyed it as well, playing the solo game and playing against me. Really solid game. Tiny Epic Galaxies.
Tiny Epic Galaxies. I don't know. I'm going to go with Asking for Troubles. Okay. I like Tiny Epic Galaxies. I just don't think of it as a family game. But Asking for Troubles. Did you play this one yet, Eric?
No, still haven't played it.
Yeah, I think your family would like this. I really do. It's a worker placement game that's simple. You either put a worker out or you pull all your workers off the board. Workers give you different resources, but you can upgrade spots so that when you place a worker there, you'll get more stuff. Really a cool little game. It's a little orange.
Yeah.
Like really orange.
Yes.
But it's a very fun game. So... this was a good year for family games. New York 1901, Stockpile, I guess is kind of a family game, but there was a lot of solid family games that came out over the course of the year. So I'm very pleased with this. Like I said, every category is good. And I really need to get Looney Quest. I really do.
Yeah. Is someone bringing it over here?
Do it.
They should.
Well, folks, that's it for this half of the show. Come back next week for Best of the Year Part 2, where we will talk about all sorts of categories, including the top 10 of 2015. But we're going to end here. You can find other lists and things all on our videos page. All this is found at Dicetower.com or on our YouTube channel. Until next time, though, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Eric Summerer.
And you've been listening to The Dice Tower.
Thanks for listening. Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. This episode, number 437, was recorded on December 16th, 2015. Coming up next week, our 2015 recap continues with the most innovative game, best cooperative game, and our top 10 games of the year. Support for this podcast comes from listeners like you. Thank you for your continued support. And speaking of support, the Jack Vassell Memorial Fund is dedicated to providing support to members of the board gaming community in their hour of need. Find out how you can help at jackvassell.org. The Dice Tower is produced by Tom and me, with production assistance from Jason Thompson and Ty Perez, Eric Matthews, and Rob Searing. Our theme is composed by Timothy Pinkham. The machine that's fixing our grandmother's poor needlework is the Recrochet Robot. And hosting is provided by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games at great prices at coolstuffinc.com. We love feedback. Visit the Dice Tower Guild at BoardGameGeek.com. Email us at thedicetower@gmail.com or follow us on Facebook. And of course, you can find more from the Dice Tower Network, including Board Gamers Anonymous, Board Game Corner, The Snake's Cast, Rolling Dice and Taking Names, Board Game Brawl, Dukes of Dice, and Dice Tower Showdown at DicetowerNetwork.com. Until next time, from all the gang at the Dice Tower, Merry Christmas and have fun gaming. So when you hear the Christmas Carol, what kind of reindeer games do you think they're playing?
Isn't the song like Monopoly?
Yeah. I always wonder what they'd actually be playing.
They're jerks. They're jerks. They don't let everyone else
is that
play.
what it is? So we're supposed to not like them because they like Monopoly?
No, I'm pretty sure they're playing Kalis.
Oh. But then that doesn't fit the rhyme. I'm going to think about this. Like the castles of Burgundy. No, that's not it.